On the day of the college entrance exam, the pathetic admirer of the class beauty, Sue Hylon, threw sulfuric acid at Lu Jinyu out of sheer jealousy. Everyone around me was watching, certain I would rush forward to shield him. And in my past life, that's exactly what I did. I recklessly pushed him out of the way. The acid ruined half my face and shattered my dream of attending Tsinghua University. Filled with guilt, Lu Jinyu took meticulous care of me and even promised to marry me after graduation. That promise was my entire world back then. I clung to that promise, even feeling moved by my own sacrifice for him. That is, until the day I overheard him talking to his friend outside a KTV. Jiang Wenwen's ruined face disgusts me. If she hadn't saved me, I wouldn't give her the time of day. I'd much rather go to Xiamen University with Su Hailan. After the heart-wrenching agony, I opened my eyes and found myself back on the day of the college entrance exam, at the very moment sulfuric acid was about to be thrown at Lu Jinyu. This time, I didn't step forward. Instead, I retreated several meters. The scalding acid splashed entirely onto his face, the sizzling sound of burning flesh, both grating and satisfying amidst the chaotic screams. I turned away indifferently and walked straight into the examination hall. Chapter 1. The moment the sulfuric acid flew. I took a step back. It wasn't hesitation. It was clarity. Acrid white smoke erupted before my eyes. Lu Jinyu's face, the face I had looked up to for 18 years since childhood, sizzled in the concentrated acid. It sounded like meat hitting a hot skillet, like flesh curling under intense heat. His scream was so piercing it could have torn through the whole street. He clutched his face, a viscous, blood-streaked fluid oozing between his fingers. Jinyu! Su Heilin's scream pierced the air, but instead of rushing forward, she stumbled back several steps, her delicate high heels nearly twisting on the curb. Her sweet, innocent face was now a mask of sheer terror and a flicker of unmistakable disgust. It happened too fast, but the me from my past life wouldn't have seen it. In my past life, the second the sulfuric acid was hurled at Lu Jinyu, I lunged like a rabid dog, using my face and body to shield him from that bottle of concentrated acid strong enough to disfigure him. Half my face was left a raw, mangled mess, my right eye nearly blinded. I spent 3 months in the hospital, missed the college entrance exam, missed my chance at Tsinghua University, missed an entire life that should have been brilliant. And him, he stood by my hospital bed, completely unharmed, holding my hand and saying, "One win. Thank you. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life. We'll get married as soon as I graduate from university." I believed him. I believed him like a fool then, at the celebration party for him getting accepted into Xiamen University. I stood outside the KTV room and heard him tell his friend, "Every time I see Jiang Wenwen's rotting face, it makes me sick to my stomach. I can't stand the way she holds that favor over my head. If she hadn't taken that acid for me, I wouldn't spare her a second glance. Given the choice, I wish she'd never done it. Then I wouldn't be responsible for her, and I could have gone off to Xiamen University with Hailan." I stood outside the door, my heart feeling like it was being run out and crushed. That night, I wore the white dress he gave me 3 years ago, the hem still stained with the lipstick I deliberately smeared on. I thought he'd like me dressing up for him. I stood in the fire escape at the end of the hallway and cried for 2 solid hours. I cried until my eyes were swollen shut, until the hideous scar on my face became inflamed and festered from being soaked in tears. What happened next? Eventually, I still married him. I thought I was disfigured and no one would want me. I thought he was my savior. No, I was his savior, but that became my greatest sin. The favor I bought with my face became the reason he despised me day after day. After we got married, he never touched me, disgusted by my face. He kept a lingering connection with Su Hailan, who led him on while getting close with the campus heartthrob from Xiamen University. Lu Jinyu chased after her like a lovesick puppy. But at home, he subjected me to cold violence and wouldn't even look at me. I gave birth to his child, and the moment it opened its eyes and saw my face, it burst into terrified wails. It was only then that I realized my life was over. It was over the moment I rushed forward on the day of the college entrance exam. So, when fate offered me a chance to start over, this time, I'm not rushing. I watched as the bottle of sulfuric acid was precisely thrown onto Lu Jinyu's face, saw him writhing in agony on the ground, and watched as the face that once made all the girls in school scream slowly melted away in the acid. I heard the terrified screams of my classmates, someone shouting, "Call 120," and Su Hailon crying, her tears like pear blossoms. Yet, she never took a step closer to him, and I merely turned coldly and walked into the exam hall. Behind me, Lu Jinyu's heart-wrenching cry echoed, "Wen-Wen, Wen-Wen, save me." My steps faltered. In my previous life, at the moment I rushed forward, he had shouted, "Hailon, be careful." This time, he called out to me. How ironic. I didn't look back. The exam hall was quiet. Sunlight streamed through the window and fell across my desk. I picked up my pen, my fingers trembling slightly, not from fear, but from excitement. I've been waiting for this day for what feels like 2 lifetimes. Chapter 2. During those 2 days of the college entrance exams, it was as if I were possessed. Math, science, Chinese, English. I breezed through every subject. All those problems I had drilled relentlessly in countless late nights of my past life. All that knowledge I had painstakingly mastered over 3 years of seclusion after being disfigured, flowed effortlessly from my pen as answers. In my previous life, I had missed the college entrance exams. Later, I barely managed to get into a junior college through self-study exams. But the distance to Tsinghua University felt as vast as a galaxy. In this life, I will reclaim everything that belongs to me. After the exam, I walked out of the examination room, and the sunlight made me squint. A crowd gathered at the school gate, murmuring among themselves. Did you hear? Lu Jinyu was splashed with acid and his entire face is ruined. Oh my God. Lu Jinyu, the school heartthrob. That's just awful. He was supposed to take the exam for Xiamen University. Tell me about it. I heard it was done by a guy who had a crush on Su Hailon. Pure jealousy. The guy has been arrested. But Lu Jinyu's face. The doctors said it's severe burns. He's definitely disfigured. What about Su Hailon? Su Hailon. She was there when it happened. But I heard she was so scared she just ran off. Didn't even try to help him. TSK. I heard this, and my lips curled into a faint smile, only to be quickly suppressed. In my previous life, Su Hailon wasn't the subject of such discussions. Back then, it was me who was disfigured. Everyone pitted Lu Jinyu for having a disfigured savior holding him back, praising him for being loyal and righteous and unwavering. Su Hailon even leveraged this incident to build a persona of being beautiful and kind-hearted. She tearfully praised, "Jiang Wenwen is very brave" during an interview, only to post a photo of herself with Lu Jinyu's admission letter to Xiamen University on her social media moments later. In this life, it is Lu Jinyu himself who is disfigured. I wonder how long Su Hailon's deep affection will last. I was walking home with my backpack when my phone rang as I passed by the hospital. It was Lu Jinyu calling. I stared at the screen for 3 seconds before answering. Wen-Wen. Came Lu Jinyu's slurred voice over the line. His lips were probably burned by the acid, too, making it hard for him to speak. Why didn't you help me that day? There was a sense of grievance, confusion, and even a hint of blame in his tone. I held my phone, my voice as calm as if I were reading from a textbook. I was so scared I didn't react. You. Weren't you the closest to me? If you had just pushed me, I would have. His voice began to tremble. My face. The doctor said it can't be fixed. I'm done for. I can't take the exam. My life is over. He cried. An 18-year-old boy was crying on the phone like a child. In my past life, I cried just like that in the hospital. Through my tears, I asked him, is my face ruined? Can I still take the college entrance exam? Is my life over? How did he answer me? He said, Wen, don't cry. You saved me, and I will take responsibility for you. Responsible. What an arrogant pair of words. As if saying, you saved me. I grant you a marriage, and we're even. But why should that be? Why should I be treated as a burden just because I saved you? Why should I endure your cold violence and mental torment just because I ruined my face for you? Why, after trading my face for yours, do you end up thinking I owe you? In this life, I'm not saving you. You can suffer on your own. Jinyu, I said into the phone. My voice, so gentle it felt fake even to me. You have to be strong. You'll get through this. Then I hung up the phone, turned off the phone. For the next 3 days, I didn't go to the hospital to see him. It wasn't that I didn't want to go. I just knew too well what would happen if I did. In my previous life, when I was hospitalized, his parents came to see me once, gave me 5,000 yuan, and then never showed up again. They were busy taking care of their son, who was about to take the college entrance exam. So, who had time to care about me? This outsider? This time, it's their precious son lying in the hospital bed. I'm curious to see how they'll handle it. On the 4th day, Lu Jinyu's mother called. Jiang Wenwen. Her voice was as shrill as nails on a chalkboard. What's wrong with you? Something this terrible happened to Jinyu, and you haven't visited him once. He only did it for your sake. Auntie. I cut her off. The person who threw the acid did it because he likes Su Hailan and was jealous of Lu Jinyu. What does that have to do with me? There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line. Well, you were the closest to him at the time. If you had just pushed him, he wouldn't have Auntie. My voice turned cold. Are you saying I should have taken the sulfuric acid for him? She fell silent again. So, you're saying I should trade my face for your son's? That's not what I meant. Her voice softened, but it was thick with resentment. I just think you grew up together. You can't just stand by and watch him die. Can you? Stand by and watch him die. Those 4 words were like a knife plunging straight into the heart of my past life. In my past life, I saved you. I used my face, my life, everything I had to save you. And then what? Then your whole family treated me like a burden they couldn't shake off. Your son was flirting with other women outside, and you turned a blind eye, even privately telling relatives. Jiang Wenwen's face. It's indeed a step up for her to be with my son. A step up by Jiang Wenwen, with the top score in the province for science. A candidate for Tsinghua and Peking University. Deserves someone like you. A rubbish who could only keep your face because of me. Auntie, I took a deep breath. I'm very busy preparing for Tsinghua's Changtian Plan interview. Please take good care of Jinyu. Goodbye. Hanging up the phone, I tossed my phone onto the bed, lay down on my back, and laughed out loud while staring at the ceiling. Laughing, tears began to stream down my face. It wasn't sadness. What a rush. Chapter 3. The day the college entrance exam results came out. My fingers trembled as I checked my score. It wasn't that I lacked confidence in myself. It was that fate had toyed with me too many times in my past life. I was always afraid this was just a dream. The moment the number flashed on the screen, I was stunned. 709 points. The top science student in the entire province. I stared at that number for a full minute, then buried my head in my arms on the desk and cried. In my past life, my mock exam scores consistently hovered around 690. placing me in the top 10 of the entire province. All my teachers said I was destined for Tsinghua or Peking University. But that bottle of sulfuric acid destroyed more than just my face. It obliterated my entire future. This time around, 709 points. The provincial top scorer. My homeroom teacher called 10 minutes later, her voice trembling. Jiang Wenwen, you're the top scorer, the provincial champion. Oh my God, our school has produced a provincial champion. What followed was an avalanche of congratulatory calls, interview requests, and harassment from university admissions offices. The recruiters from Tsinghua and Peking University showed up at my house almost one right after the other, each more enthusiastic than the last, each offering better terms than the one before. My mother stood beside me, so overcome with emotion she could barely string a sentence together. Our Win-Win has always been clever, just a bit unlucky. And now finally, as she spoke, she began to cry. My mother has had a hard life. My father passed away early, and she raised me all by herself, working as a factory hand on a meager salary of 3,000 a month. She still managed to put me through school. In my past life, after I was disfigured, she spent every last penny of her savings on my skin graft surgery. Her hair turned half white overnight from the stress. Later, when I married Lu Jinyu, she objected, saying, "That man doesn't truly care for you." I didn't listen. I even argued with her, accusing her of not wanting to see me happy. I'm such a jerk. In this life, I won't let her cry for me again. After the news spread, my phone was blowing up. One of those calls was from Lu Jinyu. One win. Congratulations. The top scorer in the province. His voice was hoarse, laced with an indescribable emotion. It wasn't happiness, nor was it envy. It felt more like a sense of loss. Thank you, I said. Will you be going to Tsinghua? Yeah. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. One win. Why haven't you been to see me lately? He finally asked, his voice tinged with grievance. I've been in the hospital for nearly a month, and you haven't come even once. I'm preparing for an interview, I said, which was partly true, but you weren't like this before. His voice trembled. You used to think of me first in everything. You'd even buy 2 ice creams when you had one. You Jinyu. I cut him off. We're not kids anymore. The words hung in the air like a blade, severing everything else he was about to say. He was silent for a long time, then said something that nearly made me laugh out loud. One win. Are you put off by my face? I held the phone. My expression must have been a sight to behold. Disgusted by his face in my past life. He was disgusted by my face for a full 8 years. For those 8 years, the way he looked at me was as if I were a piece of rotting meat. He never went out with me, never let me visit him at his company, and wouldn't even keep our wedding photo in the bedroom. And now he's asking if I'm disgusted by his face. Jinyu, I said calmly, you're overthinking it. Focus on recovering. You'll be fine. Then I hung up the phone. The same lines spoken to me by him in a past life. In this life, I return it to him. Fate sure does come full circle. Chapter 4. I went to the hospital not to see Lu Jinyu, but to watch the drama unfold. That's the honest truth. In my past life, I spent 3 months in the hospital. Lu Jinyu came to see me 4 times. Each visit lasted less than half an hour before he'd say he had to go back to study. Once, he even answered a call right in front of me. It was Su Hailon asking if he wanted to go to the library together. He went. He left me there, the one who'd been disfigured for his sake, and went to the library with Su Hailon that day. Alone in my hospital bed, I used my left hand, the only one I could still move, to painstakingly turn the pages of my textbook, 1 word at a time. I told myself it was okay, that he would be good to me in the future. He just wanted to get into a good university too badly. So, In this life, I just wanted to see him lying in a hospital bed with my own eyes. When I pushed open the door to the ward, only Lu Jinyu was inside. He lay in bed, his entire face wrapped tightly in bandages, revealing only his eyes and mouth. Those eyes, which I once thought were beautiful, clear, bright, like they were filled with stars, were now bloodshot, sunken, and radiating a nearly desperate dullness. At the sound of the door, he turned his head, seeing it was me. A sudden light came into his eyes. One win. His voice was so hoarse it was almost inaudible. You finally came. I walked over, sat down by the bed, and looked at him. You've lost a lot of weight. I said. It was true. His wrists were as thin as twigs. I can't eat. My mouth is full of ulcers. Tears seeped through the gaps in his bandages. One win. It hurts so much. I watched him cry, feeling nothing inside. It's not that I'm heartless. I just know too well what pain feels like in my past life. When the sulfuric acid was splashed on my face, I felt my entire face was on fire. The pain wasn't just skin deep. It was the agony of nerves being scorched inch by inch. A bone smoking. I passed out 3 times on the operating table, and when I woke up, the pain was so intense that I bit my lips to pieces. Meanwhile, Lu Jinyu, while I was in excruciating pain, was discussing with Su Hailan how beautiful the campus of Shaman University was. It will get better, I said, my voice barely audible. He reached out and grasped my hand. His fingers were icy and slightly trembling, gripping me tightly as if clutching a lifeline. One win. Don't leave. Please stay with me. My mom. She had a second child, and now she hardly comes to the hospital. My dad is busy with work. I'm all alone here. I'm so scared. I was stunned. Lu Jinyu's mom is pregnant with a second child. I had no idea about this in my previous life. In my previous life, it was me who was disfigured, while Lu Jinyu attended the college entrance exam unscathed, got into Shaman University, and his mother was so proud that she bragged about her son's success to everyone. Where did the second child even come from in this life? Lu Jinyu is disfigured, unable to take the college entrance exam, and his future is ruined. His mother probably thinks this son is a lost cause and is rushing to have a backup. What a backup! I almost laughed out loud. How often does your mom come? I asked. Once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. His voice trailed off. She said it's inconvenient for her to come often. One win. Am I being abandoned? I looked at him and suddenly felt sorry for him. But this pity, compared to the pity I felt in my previous life, is nothing at all. No. I patted the back of his hand. Your mom won't abandon you. After saying that, I felt hypocritical myself. In my previous life, when I was disfigured, my mom stayed by my side for 3 months without leaving. She quit her job, took care of me in the hospital during the day, and worked as a part-time cleaner at night to earn money for my medical bills. At 50 years old, she carried 30 pounds of cleaning equipment, climbing up to 10 floors just to make 50 yuan. What about Lu Jinyu's mom? Comes once a week, stays for half an hour, leaves a fruit basket, and then leaves. This is the difference. Win-win. Lu Jinyu suddenly looked up at me, his eyes filled with a humility I had never seen before. Would you look down on me? I looked at him. This question, I asked him in my previous life. He said, No, I will take responsibility for you. Responsibility? What cold words. No, I said, mimicking his tone from my previous life. We're friends, and I will always treat you as such. Friend. Those 2 words felt like a slap across his face. He froze for a moment. Then his eyes darkened. Friend, he repeated softly. Just friends. I didn't answer because I knew what he was expecting. He was expecting me to say not just friends. He was expecting me to blush and tell him I like you. I want to marry you, like I used to in my previous life. I would have said that, but this time, I won't. I stood up and picked up my bag. I'm leaving now. I still have to prepare for the start of the semester at Tsinghua. Take good care of your injuries. Wan. He was anxious, struggling to sit up, but his wounds made him wince in pain. Don't go. Just stay with me a little longer. Just a little. Jinyu. I stood at the door, turning back to look at him. You need to learn to face things alone. This sentence was bought with 8 years of tears from my previous life. I closed the door and left. His suppressed sobs echoed behind me. Chapter 5. In July, I received my admission letter from Tsinghua University. The red cover, the golden lettering. It felt heavy, as if it carried the weight of 2 lifetimes. I stood on the balcony for a long time, holding the letter. My mom was taking pictures nearby. After snapping over a dozen photos, she still wasn't satisfied and dragged me down to the small garden to take more. To everyone she met, she'd proudly announce, "My Wan got into Tsinghua University. She's the top scorer in the entire province." The envious looks from the neighbors reminded me of my previous life. In my previous life, after my face was disfigured, the neighbors' gazes were filled with sympathy, pity, and a sense of what a shame for this girl. Some even gossiped behind my back. Who would ever want her looking like that? I heard she got disfigured by taking a splash of sulfuric acid for someone else. TSK. What was the point? What was the point? What's the point in expecting gratitude from an ungrateful wretch? What's the point in clinging to a marriage that feels like a burden? What's the point in having a face you're too afraid to look at in the mirror? I took a photo of the acceptance letter and posted it on my social media. The caption was just 2 words, "A dream come true." The comment section went wild. Her middle school homeroom teacher, high school classmates, relatives, and friends all flooded in with congratulations. Among them was a comment from Su Hailan. Wan, you're amazing. Congratulations. Heart. A faint smile touched my lips as I looked at those 3 heart emojis. Su Hailan, you really are the picture of beauty and kindness, aren't you? In my past life, after my face was disfigured, she left me a similar comment. So brave. Wan, I look up to you. Heart. Then she immediately turned around and posted a photo with Lu Jinyu on her social media, captioned, "Thank you, fate, for bringing you to me." This time, Lu Jinyu was disfigured, and her social media was eerily quiet. I clicked into Su Hailan's profile and scrolled through her recent updates. The latest post was from 3 days ago, featuring a photo of a Xiamen University admission letter with the caption, "See you in Xiamen in September." In the comments, someone asked, "Did Lu Jinyu also get into Xiamen University? Isn't he disfigured?" Su Hailan replied with a crying emoji. "Jean, you couldn't take the college entrance exam due to health reasons, and my heart aches for him, but he's always been so strong, and I believe he'll pull through." Heart. How touching, but I know Su Hailan's heartache has a very short shelf life. In my past life, after my face was disfigured, Su Hailan showered me with public praise and sympathy, but privately told her best friend, "Jiang Wanwan's face. It frightens me just to look at it. I don't know how Jean you can stand it." Tolerate. What is he tolerating? He didn't tolerate anything. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. He complained about the food I cooked, the clothes I wore, and the sound of my voice. He even refused to eat at the same table with me, saying, "The scars on your face ruin my appetite." This is the gratitude I got in exchange for my face. I exited Su Hailan's profile and replied to her comment, "Thank you, Hailan, and congratulations on getting into Xiamen University. Please visit Jinyu often. He needs your company the most right now." I made that comment on purpose. What does Su Hailan fear the most? Being put on a pedestal. She loved the handsome, dazzling Lu Jinyu, not the broken man lying in a hospital bed with his face disfigured. But her persona doesn't allow her to show disdain. So she occasionally posts a status expressing heartache and then continues her carefree life. This comment of mine is about turning her heartache into concrete action. You feel sorry for him, then go and keep him company. Go to the hospital and take care of his bodily functions. Go and face that disfigured face destroyed by acid. Just as I expected. Su Hailan replied instantly, "Of course. I've been visiting him all along." Heart. I smiled. All along. Lu Jinyu himself said that his mother only visits once a week. If Su Hailan had been always visiting him, he wouldn't have been so lonely. This social media post is my first hook. I want everyone to see just how deep Su Hailan's affection really is. Chapter 6. In mid-August, I was getting ready to leave for Beijing. The night before my departure, Lu Jin, you sent me a very long WeChat message. Wan, I know you probably don't want to see me, but I still want to say a few words to you. I've been thinking about this for a while now. Why did you step back when the acid was thrown that day? I remember it clearly. You were only a meter away from me. You could have pushed me away, but instead, you took a step back. I don't blame you. Really, everyone gets scared sometimes. I just can't understand why you took that step back. You weren't like this before. You used to shield me from everything. When I was chased by a dog as a child, you were the one who grabbed a stick and drove it away. When I was cornered in an alley in middle school, you were the one who rushed in and pulled me away. When I failed an exam in high school, you were the one who walked with me on the playground all night. You never backed down. But that day, you did. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something that hurt you? Wan, I've thought about it for a long time, but I can't find the answer. If you tell me, I'll change. I really will change. After reading the message, my fingers hovered above the screen for a long time. Of course, he couldn't understand because he has no idea what he did in his past life. He doesn't know that the things he said in that KTV room cut me to the core. He doesn't know that the emotional neglect he subjected me to for 8 years of our marriage gave me severe depression. He doesn't know that while he was out there being intimate with Su Hailan, I was home alone, holding our child and crying until dawn. He doesn't know that every time he looks at me, it's as if he's looking at a pile of trash. He doesn't know that his words, "Take responsibility," are the most vicious curse I've ever heard in my life. He doesn't know because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. In his mind, marrying a disfigured woman like me is the greatest favor he could bestow. Enduring me for 8 years is his greatest sacrifice. Giving me a meal and a roof over my head is the height of benevolence. He never knew that what I needed wasn't responsibility, but love. But I don't need him to know that anymore. I deleted the chat window and didn't reply. Some words, even if spoken, are in vain. Some accounts aren't settled with words. The next day, I boarded the train to Beijing. As the train started moving, I watched the platform recede into the distance and suddenly felt that the Jiang Wanwan from my previous life was also left behind with this train. That fool who ruined her life for a man. That idiot who thought sacrifice could buy love. That poor soul who cried for 2 hours in the KTV fire escape. Goodbye. No, goodbye for good. Chapter 7. Life at Tsinghua is 100 times better than I imagined. It's not because this place is so great, but because I no longer have to live under Lu Jinyu's shadow. I chose computer science and spend every day in the library and lab, absorbing knowledge like a dry sponge. In my previous life, I attended a mediocre junior college, studying accounting, which I didn't like because Lu Jinyu said, "Accounting is easy to find a job, and your face isn't for public exposure." Unsuitable for public exposure. What a subtle insult. In this life, I not only want to make a name for myself, but I also want to stand at the highest point where everyone can see me. In my first semester of college, I achieved a GPA of 4.0, ranking first in the entire department. I joined the school's robotics lab and worked with my advisor on a national level project. I also participated in the ACM programming contest and won a gold medal in the regional competition. My photo was hung on the honor roll in the department, and passing students would take a second look. It wasn't because of my face, though my face is intact, with delicate features, not stunning, but definitely pleasing to the eye, but because of my achievements. This feeling is amazing. So good that I feel like the 8 years of my previous life were just a nightmare. Of course, the lingering effects of that nightmare still occasionally come back. For instance, Lu Jean you still messages me from time to time. Wan Wan, are the cafeterias at Tsinghua good? Wan Wan, is it cold in Beijing? Make sure to dress warmly. Wan Wan, I got my bandages off today. The doctor said the recovery isn't going well. I looked in the mirror. It looks so bad. Wan Wan, is there someone you like? I'd reply to one or two occasionally. My tone is polite, as if I were talking to a stranger. He probably sensed my distance, but he couldn't understand why. In his mind, Jiang Wanwan was still that little tagalong who chased after him since childhood. That fool who would take a bullet for him. That girl who was madly in love with him. He couldn't fathom why this girl had suddenly changed. So he started to panic. He sent me something. 1,000 paper cranes he'd folded himself, packed in a glass jar, delivered right to my dorm. When the delivery guy handed it over, my roommates all went wow, saying how romantic it was. I looked at the jar of paper cranes and thought of my past life. In my past life, when I was hospitalized, I also folded 1,000 paper cranes for him with one hand hooked up to an 4. I awkwardly folded them with the other, spending a whole month on it. After finishing, I had my mom deliver them to his house, wishing him good luck in the college entrance exam. He accepted them, said thank you, and then placed them in the corner of his desk, where they gathered dust. Later, when I went to his house, I saw that the jar of paper cranes was covered in a thick layer of dust, and the paper had turned yellow. He hadn't thrown them away, but he hadn't cherished them either, just like he treated me. Not discarded, but not cherished. I placed the jar of paper cranes under my bed without opening it, not because I was touched, but because I didn't want to see it again. Later, he sent me a scarf, claiming it was knitted by his mom. To keep you warm for the winter. I looked at the scarf with its rough stitching and old-fashioned color. Clearly something bought for a few dozen bucks at a street stall. His mom is busy taking care of her second child now. When would she have time to knit a scarf? He probably bought it himself and sent it over in his mother's name. I never wore that scarf. I turned right around and donated it to the school's charity thrift store. But he was relentless. He started texting me good morning and good night every day, sending me cheesy pickup lines he copied from the internet, and sharing recordings of him playing guitar and singing. His face was scarred, but his voice was still fine. He really could sing well. In my past life, I was completely captivated by his voice. He sang A Little Happiness at the high school New Year's Eve party. All the girls were screaming, and I stood in the audience, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would leap out of my throat. That night, he walked me home, under the streetlight. He said to me, Wan Wan, thank you for always being there for me. My face flushed as I replied, I'll always be here for you. He smiled, under the streetlight. His profile was as handsome as a character from a manga. In that moment, I thought this was love. But love isn't like that. Love isn't one person disfiguring themselves for another, and the other person taking responsibility by marrying her. Love isn't one person saying, I feel sick just looking at her face in a KTV, while the other person cries for 2 hours in a fire escape. Love isn't like this. I set his messages to do not disturb and stopped replying. Chapter 8. During my freshman winter break, I went back to my hometown. My mom met me at the station. Her eyes welled up the moment she saw me. You've lost weight. Have you not been eating properly? I smiled and gave her a hug. I'm fine, Mom. Really? On the way home? My mom seemed to hesitate, but finally spoke up. Lu Jinyu. He wants to see you. I was silent for a moment. I don't want to see him. I know. My mom sighed. But that poor kid. After his mother had a son, she basically stopped caring about him. His dad is henpecked and doesn't dare say anything either. He's living alone in the old house now, taking care of himself. The other day, when I was grocery shopping, I ran into him. He was wearing a mask and a hat. I almost didn't recognize him. Mom. I cut her off. He's pitiful, but he's not my responsibility. My mom was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. You're right. It's just I watched him grow up. It hurts my heart a little. I understood my mom's soft-heartedness, but this time, I wouldn't be swayed. I know this all too well. If our roles were reversed, and it was me who was disfigured, Lu Jin, you wouldn't feel an ounce of pity for me. He'd probably even see me as a burden, wishing I'd just stay out of his way. That's exactly what he did in our past life. However, some meetings are simply unavoidable. On the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, I was at the supermarket. While waiting in line at the checkout, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned my head and saw a man wearing a black mask and a baseball cap. He was wearing a faded down jacket, very tall, but skinny, like a bamboo pole. The brim of his cap was pulled low, almost covering half his face. But those eyes, I recognized him. It was Lu Jinyu. I had looked into those eyes for 18 years. I could recognize them even with my own eyes closed. But those eyes had changed. They were no longer clear and bright, but murky and dim, like a lamp about to go out. Wan Wan, he called my name, his voice soft, carrying a tone of cautious probing. Jinyu. I feigned surprise. What a coincidence. I heard you were back, he said, his fingers twisting the hem of his shirt like a child caught misbehaving. I just thought maybe I'd run into you. He was waiting for me at the entrance to the supermarket. That realization made my stomach tighten slightly. It wasn't a feeling of being moved, but a vague, unsettling discomfort. Are you okay? I asked, my gaze settling on his face mask. He instinctively touched the edge of his mask, his fingers trembling slightly. I'm okay. His voice was muffled behind the mask, indistinct. It's just my face hasn't fully healed yet. The doctor says I need a few more skin grafts, but it's too expensive. My mom said. He didn't finish. I knew what he left unsaid. His mom said there was no money. Yet, she turned right around and bought a 10,000 yuan stroller for her newborn second son. I've seen favoritism before, but never anything this blatant. So, what are you doing now? I asked. I take on some voiceover work from home, he said. My voice is still fine. It works. It doesn't pay much, but it's enough to get by. Voiceover work. In his past life, he was destined for Shaman University's finance program. After graduation, he entered investment banking, always in a sharp suit, brimming with ambition and confidence. Su Hailan accompanied him to all sorts of high-end events. Standing side by side, they were the picture-perfect golden couple, the envy of everyone around them. Yet in this life of mine, I can't even get a clear photo of his face. That's good, I said. Take it slow. Things will get better. That phrase again. I realize the thing I say to him most often is, things will get better. But that statement is false. We all know his face won't get better. Severe, sulfuric acid burns. Even 10 skin graft surgeries couldn't restore it to its original state. His face is gone forever, just like my face in my previous life. Wan Wan, he suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with a sense of urgency I had never seen before. I want to ask you something. What? That day, why did you take that step back? I was stunned. He's asked me this question many times, through WeChat, over the phone, but I've never given a direct answer. He stared at me, his eyes filled with resentment, grievance, and a hint of anger. I looked it up, he said. When sulfuric acid is thrown, a person's instinct is to dodge. But you didn't. You took a step back. You were originally standing beside me. You deliberately stepped away. I looked at him, saying nothing. Why? His voice trembled. Why did you step back? You could have saved me. You could have. What can be done? I interrupted him. Can I trade my face for yours? He was choked. Lu Jinyu. I called his full name. My voice calm. I have a question for you. What? If it had been me who was splashed with acid that day, would you have rushed up to shield me? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Silence. A long silence. The line at the checkout was inching forward. People passed by us, casting curious glances our way. You can't answer. I said, because you already know what it is. You wouldn't. I answered for him. You wouldn't jump in to shield me, because in your eyes, my face isn't worth protecting. You'd probably even think, goodness, it wasn't aimed at me. No, it's not, he panicked, his voice suddenly rising. I didn't, you did. I looked at him, my gaze as calm as a still lake. Lu Jinyu, we've known each other for 18 years. I know what kind of person you are better than you do yourself. That statement was true. In my previous life, through 8 years of marriage, I saw his selfishness, coldness, and hypocrisy. Clearly, he has only ever loved himself. Su Hailan was a dream he chased because she was beautiful, accomplished, and someone he could show off. He pursued her not out of love, but because she made him look good. And me, the little shadow who followed him around since childhood, I was just an expendable backdrop to him. My kindness, he took for granted. My sacrifices, he saw as my own choice. When I was disfigured for him, his response was, I never asked you to. But in this life, I refused to be the backdrop anymore. I picked up my purchases and turned to leave. Wan. He called out behind me, his voice trembling with tears. Don't go. Tell me, what did I do wrong? I can change. I really can change. I stopped, but didn't turn back. Lu Jinyu, you didn't do anything wrong. You just never cared about me. And then I left. Behind me came the sound of his muffled sobs, like a dog that had been abandoned. Chapter 9. In the spring of my freshman year, something happened. Su Hailan is in Beijing. She's not here to see me, but to participate in some college student innovation and entrepreneurship competition. Her project won a provincial award and was recommended to the national competition, which is being held in Beijing. She contacted me on WeChat. Wan, I'm in Beijing. Long time no see. Let's have dinner together. Heart. As I read this message, I recalled my previous life. In my past life, Su Hailan was just the same. Every time she saw me, she'd be overwhelmingly affectionate, linking arms with me, calling me Wan, serving me food, and pouring my drinks, acting as if we were real sisters. But in private, what she said to Lu Jinyu was, Poor Wan, you must treat her well. Don't let her down. On the surface, those words sounded like she was speaking up for me, but in reality, she was reminding Lu Jinyu, you owe her, and you have to pay that debt. She was desperate for Lu Jinyu to take responsibility for me, because that way he would forever be in her debt. She could string him along while searching for a better man on the outside, all the while knowing that I, the scarred, haggard housewife, would be waiting at home for his return. She saw me as nothing but her pawn, a pawn to tie Lu Jinyu down, to make him forever dependent on her. In this life, I'm curious to see how Su Hailan will perform her act of devotion without the disfigured Jiang Wan as her prop. I accepted her dinner invitation. I wasn't here to reminisce. I was here for the show. We met at a restaurant in Wudaeku. Su Hailan wore a white dress, her long hair cascading over shoulders with delicate, subtle makeup. She was genuinely beautiful. An oval face, large eyes, a high nose bridge, and 2 faint dimples when she smiled. in my past life. Looking at that face filled me with insecurity. I thought it was only natural for Lu Jinyu to like someone so beautiful. For an ugly duckling like me, marrying him was a stroke of incredible, undeserved luck. This time around, looking at that same face, all I felt was amusement. What's the point of being good? Looking. The heart is black. When. She rushed over and gave me a big hug as soon as she saw me. Long time no see. You've lost so much weight. Is Qinghua really that exhausting? It's okay. I smiled and subtly stepped out of her embrace. We sat down and ordered. She began to talk non-stop about her life at Xiamen University, what clubs she joined, how many outstanding people she met, and all the amazing things she did. By the way, she suddenly lowered her voice, looking mysterious. Do you know how Lu Jinyu has been lately? Not really, I said, picking up a piece of braised pork. What's up? Oh, she sighed, her expression turning sympathetic. He's so pitiful. His face still hasn't healed, and his mom doesn't care about him. Now he's all alone in his hometown, doing voiceovers, barely making 2 to 3,000 a month. The last time I went back to see him, he was so thin I almost didn't recognize him. She spoke with such sincerity that her eyes welled up with tears. But I noticed a detail. She said, I went back to see him last time, but didn't mention I accompanied him to the hospital or I helped him pay the medical bills. All talk, no action. Isn't that just Sue Halen's standard MO? Have you tried helping him find a good hospital? I asked. The plastic surgery hospitals in Beijing are quite good. You could ask around. She paused for a moment, then quickly put her troubled expression back on. I'd love to help him, but you know how it is. I'm still a student. I don't have much money, and the coursework at Xiamen University is pretty intense. I just don't have the time. Oh, I nodded. I understand. When. She suddenly grasped my hand, her face full of sincerity. You're at Qinghua now. You know a lot of people. Could you ask around for him? He really needs the help. I looked at the hand holding mine. The nails were painted with the latest gel polish. A perfect manicure. A person in great need of help stood before her. But instead of offering financial or physical assistance herself, she passed the responsibility to me. I'll keep an eye on it, I said with a smile, pulling my hand back. Sue Hailan probably didn't expect me to be so agreeable. Her face flashed with surprise before quickly filling with a smile. When, you're so kind. Jinyu is truly fortunate to have a friend like you. Friend. She said friend, not girlfriend. In her heart, Lu Jinyu was her possession, and I was just a friend. Even though Lu Jinyu was disfigured and even though she didn't want to be with him, she wouldn't allow anyone to take him away. This is Su Hailan. I can do without him, but you can't take him. After the dinner, as I walked back to school, I received a WeChat message from Su Hailan. When, I'm really happy to see you today. You must take good care of yourself at Qinghua. You're the pride of all of us. Heart. I looked at the message and a slight smile curled my lips. Su Hailan, you say I'm the pride of everyone, but in my previous life, when I was disfigured, you were the one who said behind my back, Jiang when's life is over. This time, I'm going to see who's finished. Chapter 10. During my freshman summer, I didn't go back to my hometown. I stayed in Beijing and worked with my advisor on a major national R&D project. The project was well funded, and my advisor was generous, giving me an allowance of 8,000 yuan between my tutoring gigs and part-time jobs. I had managed to save up a decent sum of money. That's when I started considering something. Plastic surgery. Not for me, though. My face is just fine. I don't need any work done. I wanted to find a good plastic surgery clinic for Lu Jinyu. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going soft. And I'm not trying to help him. I want him to see this. His devoted Su Hailan wouldn't spend a single cent for him, while Jiang Wen, whom he once saw as a burden, is willing to help him get in touch with the best hospital. I want him to feel regret. Regret it to the very core of his being. I got in touch with the director of the plastic surgery department at a top-tier Beijing hospital through my mentor. This director is a leading expert in the field of burn and scald repair in China. The cost of a skin graft surgery is around 100,000 yuan, not including follow-up rehabilitation treatment. I sent this information to Lu Jinyu. There's a good plastic surgery department at a hospital in Beijing. Here's the director's contact information. You can consult with them. He replied instantly with a message. Win-win. Are you still helping me? A long string of crying emojis followed. I didn't respond to his emotions, just sent another message in a businesslike manner. The fee is around 100,000 yuan. You can discuss it with your mom. He fell silent for a long time, sending a voice message. I tapped to play it. His voice was terribly hoarse. My mom said, "There's no money at home." She said, "My little brother is still young. There are so many expenses, and that I should figure it out myself." Figured out myself. A disfigured young man, not yet 20. His face burned beyond recognition by sulfuric acid, and his mother told him to figure it out himself. I held my phone, unsure of what I was feeling. In my previous life, after I was disfigured, my mom used all her savings for my surgery. 30,000 yuan was half a lifetime's worth of savings for her. She borrowed another 50,000, totaling 80,000 to pay for my first skin graft, although the results were poor, and my face still bore hideous scars. She did her best. Meanwhile, Lu Jinyu's mother, clutching the money for her second son's school district housing, told him, "Figure it out yourself." "So, what are your plans?" I asked. "I don't know." His voice trailed off. "I thought about finding a job, but my face, no one would hire me. I tried food delivery, but customers would get scared when they saw me and leave bad reviews. My account got banned from the platform." As he spoke, he began to cry. When I regret it so much. If only I had dodged that day. If only I had stood further away. What a cruel word. In my previous life, I said countless what ifs. What if I hadn't charged forward? What if I hadn't fallen for him? What if I hadn't married him? But none of these what ifs mattered. What would truly help is a second chance. But he didn't get that chance. "Jinyu," I said, "let me ask around about any charitable funds you might apply for. Don't worry just yet. Things will get better. Things will get better." Again, I realized that when I said this to him, my tone was exactly the same as the one he used with me in my previous life. Polite, distant, with a sense of I'm just fulfilling my duty. He probably sensed it, too. When he suddenly asked, "Are you no longer fond of me?" This question was like a pebble thrown into a lake, rippling outwards. I didn't answer right away. "You weren't like this before." His voice trembled. "You used to reach out to me, care about me, hold me when I was upset. Now you're like a stranger." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "Lu Jinyu," I said, "people change, and I cut him off. You never liked me before, either." A deathly silence hung on the other end of the line. "You were only good to me because I was good to you. You thought it was my duty to take the acid for you, and you saw my marrying you as a favor you bestowed upon me. You never truly cared for me. The only one you've ever loved is Su Hailan." "No, it's not that." He panicked. "Then tell me." My voice was as calm as reading an experimental report. "When did you start liking me?" You can't say, because you never did." I paused. "You're just thinking of me as a backup now that no one else wants you." That was a harsh thing to say. So harsh that even I felt it was a bit too much. But it's the truth. In my past life, he despised my face for 8 long years. He'd rather flirt with Su Hailan outside than come home to look at me. He felt no love for me, no gratitude, not even a shred of basic respect. Now, In this life, his face is ruined. Su Hailon wants nothing to do with him. His own mother abandoned him, and everyone around him is keeping their distance. Only then did he remember there was still a Jiang Wenwen, the one who was once willing to take a splash of sulfuric acid for him. He doesn't love her. He just needs her. This is crueler than not loving at all. Wenwen. His voice was completely hoarse, filled with a near-breaking sob. I know I wasn't good before, but I really will change. Please, give me one chance. Just one. Jean Yu, I said. Some chances, once missed, are gone forever. Then I hung up the phone. This time, I didn't hesitate, because I knew that if the roles were reversed, he wouldn't hesitate either. Chapter 11. Shortly after the start of my sophomore year, I received an unexpected call. It was Lu Jinyu's mother, Jiang Wenwen. Her voice was no longer sharp as before, but rather weary. I want to talk to you. What is it? Jinyu. He's been in a really bad state lately. She paused. He's locked himself in his room for days without coming out. I tried to bring him food, but he wouldn't open the door. I heard him crying inside. Auntie, you should take him to see a psychologist. I asked him, but he won't go. Her voice suddenly rose and then quickly lowered. I just thought, could you come and talk to him? He's always listened to you since he was little. Here we go again, trying to pass the buck to me again. Auntie, I took a deep breath. I'm his classmate, not his therapist. He needs professional help, not my comfort. How can you be so heartless? Her tone shifted, taking on an accusatory edge. Jean, you has always been so good to you. You grew up together, and now that he's in trouble, you won't even lift a finger. Auntie, he was good to me. Of course. He used to. She paused as if searching for evidence of Lu Jin you being nice to Jiang Wenwen, but clearly couldn't find any strong examples. Didn't he often walk to and from school with you? Walk to and from school together. That's only because his house is next to mine. It's on the way. Auntie, I tried to keep my voice calm. I sympathize with Jean Yu's situation, but I'm not his guardian and I'm not obligated to take responsibility for him. You're his mother, and that's your responsibility. She choked, her voice sharpening. What do you mean? Are you saying I don't care about my son? That's not what I meant. You are saying it. She began to lose control. Who do you think you are? Just because you got into Tsinghua. What's so great about that? If it weren't for what happened, our Jean, you would have easily gotten into Shaman University. Who do you think you are acting so high and mighty? I held my phone, listening to her rant, and suddenly found it all quite ridiculous in my previous life. After I was disfigured, she treated me the same way. She said, Jiang Wenwen's face is ruined. She's not worthy of our Jinyu. And if it weren't for her blocking the sulfuric acid for Jinyu, he would never have married her. In her eyes, my act of shielding her son from the sulfuric acid wasn't a favor, but an attempt to climb higher. I saved her son's face, yet she accused me of using the favor to demand repayment. Now that her son's face is gone, she wants me to be the fall guy. Why should I? Auntie, I calmly said, you're right. Getting into Tsinghua isn't anything special, but at least I didn't rely on anyone. Then I hung up the phone. This was the second time in my life I've hung up on someone from the Liu family. It felt amazing. That evening, Lu Jin, you sent me a very long WeChat message. It wasn't text, but a voice message, a full 32 minutes long. I hesitated for a moment, then tapped to open it. His voice was eerily calm. When? I'm sorry. Did my mom call you? She can be harsh, but please don't take it to heart. I know you don't want to see me, and I understand. I'm not naive. I can feel the change in you. The way you used to look at me was completely different. Back then, your eyes would light up when you looked at me. Now, it's like you're looking at a stranger. I've thought about it for a long time, and I finally realized one thing. You don't like me anymore. I don't know when it started or why, but I know it's the truth. You know, it's a strange feeling. When you were by my side, I thought you were like the air, invisible, intangible, but I never imagined that without air I couldn't survive. Now that you're gone, I've realized I truly can't go on. It's not because I like you. Well, maybe a little, but more than that. After you left, I realized you were the only person in this world who was truly kind to me. After my mom had my brother, she didn't want me anymore. My dad is a spineless coward who does whatever my mom says. Su Hailin. Huh. Su Hailin. Do you know what she said when she last came to see me? She said, Jean, you need to be strong, but I also have my own life. I can't give up my future for you. Do you know what that means? It's a polite way of saying don't cling to me. I laughed after hearing that. I found it funny. How could I have ever liked someone like her? She's beautiful, outstanding, and dazzling, but her heart is cold. She was nice to me because I was handsome and because I made her look good. Now that I'm no longer that person, she can't even bear to look at me. But you're different. Win-win. You were kind to me before because you genuinely liked me. You didn't want anything from me. Not my looks. Not my money. I didn't have any money. You just liked me for who I am. But I took your affection for granted. I never cherished you. Never really looked at you. You did so much for me, and I just thought it was owed to me. You were so good to me, and I thought it was your choice. Only now do I realize that nothing in this world is owed to anyone. No one owes you kindness. No one owes you their efforts. And no one owes you their presence when you need them most. You're the only one who would stand in front of me to block the acid. But I lost you. The recording ends here. 32 minutes. He spoke for 32 minutes. After listening, I sat on the edge of the bed silent for a long time. Every word he said was absolutely right, but he missed the most crucial fact. In his previous life, he also lost the only person willing to shield him from acid. No, it wasn't lost. It was pushed away, trampled on, and destroyed all by his own hand. The things he said at the KTV, the 8 years of emotional neglect after we married, his ambiguous relationship with Su Hailin, his contempt and disgust for me, none of this was losing something. It was murder. He murdered a girl's sincere heart. That girl cried for 2 hours in the fire escape, tossed and turned sleepless every night of her marriage, and looked in the mirror with such self-loathing she wanted to smash it to pieces. The girl gave everything for him, and what about him? He said, seeing her rotting face makes me want to vomit. In this life, he finally tasted the bitterness of being despised. He finally understood what it felt like when the whole world thought you were ugly. He finally understood what it felt like to be treated like trash by the person you loved the most. But it was all too late. I didn't reply to his voice message. It's not that I don't want to talk. It's that I don't know what to say. Forgive him? No. I have no right to forgive him because in this life, he hasn't done those things yet. He hasn't said those words at the KTV, hasn't subjected me to emotional neglect after marriage, and hasn't been ambiguous with Su Hailin. But I remember it all clear as day. Those memories are seared into my very bones, deeper than any scar acid could leave. That's why I cannot forgive. It's not him in this life I can't forgive. It's him from the last. But the man from my past life is gone. The man in this life is a brand new Lu Jinyu, one who hasn't made those mistakes yet. The only thing he did wrong was not cherishing me. But that one mistake was enough for me to walk away. Chapter 12. That winter during my sophomore year, I received an unexpected remittance. 100,000 yuan. The remittance was from my mother. I called back. Mom, where did you get so much money? My mom stammered for a while before finally telling the truth. Jean Yu's mom came to see me. She said Jean Yu needs a skin graft surgery and they don't have enough money. So she wanted to borrow 100,000 yuan. I lent it to her. Mom, my voice suddenly rose. Why did you lend it to her? She has her own house and savings. Why come to you for money? She said her husband won't allow it, and all the family's money is managed by her husband. She had no other choice. She couldn't find anyone else to pay for this. Mom, do you think your money grows on trees? My mom fell silent, then whispered, When? Don't be angry. I just felt sorry for the child. He's all alone now with that face of his, and his mom doesn't care about him. I thought if I can help, I should. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Mom, you didn't lend this money to Lou Jean Yu's mom. Did you lend it to Lou Jean Yu himself? Well, his mother said it was for Jean Yu's surgery. But did you ever verify that the money was actually used for his operation? Well, my mother hesitated a bit. Should have been right. I closed my eyes. Given Lou Jean Yu's mother's nature, it's highly unlikely that all of this money will be spent on Lou Jean Yu. Her precious second son is her true darling. Mom, give me Lou Jean Yu's contact information. I'll handle this matter. What are you going to do? I need to confirm where this money is going. If it's for his surgery, it should be directly transferred to the hospital, not through his mother's hands. My mom hesitated for a moment, then forwarded Lou Jean Yu's WeChat contact to me. I sent him a friend request. I had deleted him once before, added him back later, but we hardly ever talked. He accepted it instantly. When? You're adding me. Yeah. I need to ask you something. Did your mom borrow 100,000 from mine? He was silent for a long time. Yeah, she said it was for my surgery, but I didn't know she actually went and borrowed it. When? I'm sorry. I didn't know about this. Do you need surgery now? The doctor said it's best if I get my first skin graft before I turn 20. The results would be better, but it's so expensive. I've been saving up and I've got a little over 20,000 now. Send me the hospital's bank details. I'll transfer the 100,000 directly to them. Don't let it go through your mom. When? I can't accept this. This is your mother's money. This is my mom's hard-earned money. I don't want it spent on anything else. If you're serious about the surgery, it goes straight to the hospital. If you're not, then send the money back. He fell silent again. Then he sent over the hospital's account details. When? Thank you. Don't thank me. It's my mom's money, not mine. If you want to thank someone, thank my mom. I know. Annie is so kind to me, even better than my own mother. I didn't reply. The next day, I contacted the hospital, confirmed Lou Jean Yu's surgery appointment, and then transferred 100,000 yuan directly to the hospital's account. I sent Lou Jean Yu the screenshot of the transfer. The surgery fees are taken care of. Focus on the operation and don't let my mom's kindness go to waste. He sent a voice message, his voice trembling. When? I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. I could never repay your mother's kindness in this lifetime. You don't have to repay anything. Just live well. That's all. That was what I wanted to say to him in my past life. In my past life, I shielded him from acid, but he never said thank you. Only I will take responsibility for you. Thank you and responsibility are two completely different concepts. Thank you is gratitude, while responsibility is charity. He doesn't even know how to be grateful. Chapter 13. In the second semester of his sophomore year, Lou Jean Yu had his first skin graft surgery. The surgery was successful. The doctor took skin from his thigh and transplanted it to his face. Although it couldn't be restored to its original state, it was at least not as shocking as before. He sent me a photo of his post-surgery recovery period on WeChat. This was the first time he had sent me a photo since his disfigurement. In the photo, his face was wrapped in bandages, revealing only one eye and half of his mouth. There were tears in that eye, and the corner of his mouth was slightly raised, as if he was smiling. When? The doctor said the recovery is going well. In a few months, I'll be able to go out without a mask. I replied with, Congratulations. Just 2 words. He probably expected me to say more, but I couldn't give him anything else. It's not that I couldn't, it's that I didn't want to, because I know if I'm kind to him now, he'll think there's still a chance. He'll cling to me like a lifeline, and I'll be dragged back into that abyss. No, I don't want to. I've already climbed out. That junior year, my life was on fire. I received the national scholarship, published my first SCI paper, won a gold medal at the ACM Asia Regional Contest, and also earned the Tsinghua Special Scholarship, the highest honor for Tsinghua students. My photo made it to the homepage of Tsinghua University's official website, with the headline Jiang Wenwen, from provincial top scorer to rising research star. Our high school class group chat blew up. Jiang Wenwen is absolutely incredible. She won the Tsinghua Top Scholarship. She's the pride of our class. Goddess Wenwen. Su Hailan also posted in the group. Wenwen, you're amazing. So proud of you. Heart, heart, heart. I looked at the message and smiled. Su Hailan, your pride is so cheap. However, I also noticed something. Su Hailan's recent social media posts have taken on a different tone. Before, her posts were all about Shaman University is so beautiful. Went to the beach again today and had a meal with friends, brimming with the joys of university life. But lately, she started posting some late-night melancholic content. Some people just drift apart as they walk along their separate paths. Growing up means learning to face things alone. Turns out, not every affection is met with a response. The accompanying image was a blurry photo of a figure from behind, which looked like a boy. I opened the full-size image and took a closer look. That figure looks familiar. It's Lin Yuzhou, the campus heartthrob from Shaman University. In her past life, Su Hailan was deeply involved with Lin Yuzhou at Shaman University, while keeping Lu Jinyu on the hook and flirting with Lin Yuzhou. When Lu Jinyu found out, they had a huge fight, and she tearfully claimed, Lin Yuzhou and I are just friends, which Lu Jinyu actually believed. After all, a lovesick fool is always willing to believe any lie. In this life, Lu Jinyu is no longer at Shaman University, so Su Hailan can openly pursue Lin Yuzhou. But it seems things aren't going too smoothly. I exited the moment's feed without commenting. None of my business. But fate always has a way of playing tricks. A month later, I received a piece of news. Su Hailan was coming to Beijing, not for competition, not for tourism, but for an internship. Her internship placement was in Beijing's Haidian district, just 3 kilometers from Tsinghua University. She excitedly messaged me on WeChat. Wenwen, I'm coming to Beijing for an internship. We can meet up all the time now. I looked at the message, feeling a sense of foreboding. Su Hailan isn't the type to cherish old friendships. Her sudden enthusiasm about meeting up often certainly wasn't because she missed me. She must have some ulterior motive, but I can't figure it out for now. No worries. We'll handle whatever comes our way. In this life, I'm no longer the fool she once manipulated. Chapter 14. After Su Hailan arrived in Beijing, she indeed frequently invited me to meet. We went out for meals, shopping, and coffee. Each time she was so enthusiastic it felt like she was pursuing me. I went on a few dates with her to see what she was really up to. On the third meeting, she finally showed her true colors. When, she asked casually, holding her coffee cup, do you have a boyfriend now? No, I said. Then, do you have a crush on someone? No, not either. Really? She widened her eyes, looking skeptical. With your talents, I'm sure many people are chasing you. Right. There are, but I haven't met the right one. I said, truthfully, there were indeed people pursuing me at Tsinghua, but I've lost interest in romance. The wounds from my past life are too deep, and this time I only want to focus on my career. Then, do you still like Jinyu? This question felt like a knife, piercing straight to the heart. I looked at her. Her expression was one of concern, but her eyes held a probing look. She was testing me. She wanted to know if I was still hung up on Lu Jinyu. If I said yes, she would get nervous, because even though Lu Jinyu was disfigured, he was still someone I had saved. If I still had feelings for him, then her former possession might be snatched away by me. If I said no, she'd breathe a sigh of relief. But she wouldn't be completely at ease, because she knows Lu Jinyu is pestering me right now. Hylon. I set down my cup and looked her straight in the eye. Why are you asking this all of a sudden? She was taken aback for a moment, then quickly put on an apologetic smile. Oh, I was just asking casually. Don't read too much into it. I'm not reading into anything, I said, but it seems like you've been thinking a lot. Her smile stiffened for a moment. Wenwen, you've changed so much, she suddenly said, her tone turning serious. You weren't like this before. You used to be so gentle and easy to talk to. Now you, how should I put it, have become a bit sharp. Sharp? That's a good word for it. I have indeed sharpened myself, after being trampled underfoot for 8 years in my previous life. If I don't sharpen myself a bit more in this one, won't I just end up being treated like a soft persimmon again? People do change, I said, but you shouldn't change. She looked at me, her eyes filled with an indescribable emotion. You should always be the gentle Jiang, Wenwen. Should? What gives her the right to say should? Because she needs that gentle Jiang Wenwen to be her pawn. Needs that agreeable fool to help her tie down Lu Jinyu. Needs that doormat of a wretch to make her own beauty and kindness shine by comparison. Hylon. I laughed, a cold smile. What do you think gentleness is? Is gentleness just a synonym for being easy to push around? My words left her speechless. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I'm busy. I picked up my bag and stood up. I'm leaving first. Let's catch up next time. As I walked out of the cafe, my fingers were still trembling, slightly. It wasn't fear. It was anger. The biggest issue with Su Hylon isn't that she's bad, but that she treats everyone as her pawns. Lu Jinyu is her backup. Lin Yuzhou is her target, and I'm her tool. She wanted me to always be gentle, always easy to talk to, always there when she needed me and gone when she didn't. But this time, I won't. I want her to know that even a pawn can flip the table. Chapter 15. A major event occurred during my junior summer. Lu Jinyu came to Beijing. He came for his second skin graft surgery. The cost of the surgery was saved by himself. Over 20,000, plus some funding from public welfare foundations. Barely enough to cover it. He sent me a message before he came. Wenwen, I'm coming to Beijing for surgery. If it's not too much trouble, would you be able to come and see me? I didn't reply, but on the day he arrived in Beijing, I still went to the hospital. It wasn't for him. It was for my mom. After my mom found out he was coming for surgery, she called me 8 times, urging me to go see him. It's so pitiful, she said. He's all alone in Beijing having surgery. I couldn't refuse my mom, so I went. The hospital was in the suburbs of Beijing, and it took me an hour and a half by subway. When I arrived, he had just come out of the operating room. The anesthesia hadn't fully worn off yet, and he was lying in bed, drowsy. His face was again wrapped in bandages, leaving only his eyes exposed. Those eyes were half open, half closed, but they lit up slightly when he saw me. Wenwen. His voice was a hoarse rasp, like sandpaper grating against his throat. You came. Hum. I sat down on the edge of the bed. How are you feeling? It hurts. Tears welled up from beneath the bandages, but it's okay. Better than the first time. I didn't know what to say, so I just sat there, watching him. He must have sensed my awkwardness and tried to force a smile, but with the bandages, it was impossible to tell. Wenwen, you know, every time I'm in surgery, I think of you. Think of me how. I think about when you shielded me from the acid. I wonder if it hurt this much. I was stunned. I've never thought about this before. His voice was soft, as if afraid of disturbing something. I only knew you saved me, but I never thought about how much pain you endured. Now that I've experienced it myself, I realize that kind of pain is beyond what anyone can bear. Win-win. I'm sorry. He cried quietly, tears trickling down through the gaps in the bandages, soaking the pillow. I'm sorry. I never truly cared about your pain before. You suffered so much for me, and I just took it for granted. I was such a jerk. Watching him cry, a storm of complicated emotions churned inside me. In this life, he truly hasn't done anything wrong. He didn't say those things at the KTV. He didn't give me the cold shoulder after marriage. And he wasn't ambiguous with Sue Hylan. He doesn't even know about the things he did in his past life. But these words he's saying now, he never said them in our past life. In my past life, he never said, I'm sorry to me. All he ever said was, I will take responsibility for you. Taking responsibility is charity. I'm sorry is repentance. Charity is condescending. Repentance is humble. In this life, Lu Jinyu has finally learned humility. Jinyu, I said, you don't need to apologize to me. You don't owe me anything. I do owe you, he insisted stubbornly. I owe you my life. You don't owe me a thing. I stood up. You never asked me to save you, so I don't need you to feel responsible. By the same token, you never asked my mother for that loan, so you don't need to feel grateful either. But I Lu Jinyu. I cut him off. Don't confuse gratitude with love. What you feel for me isn't love. It's guilt. Guilt is not love. In some ways, it's more hurtful than indifference. He fell silent. After your surgery, live your life well. Find someone who truly cares for you. Don't chain yourself to someone out of guilt. That's cruel to both of you. It took me 8 years in my past life to understand this truth. In our last life, Lu Jin, you married me out of guilt. And what was the result? He was miserable, and I was even more miserable. With just the word responsibility, he ruined both our lives. In this life, I don't want his responsibility, nor do I want his gratitude. All I want is for him to stay away from me. Win-win. He suddenly called out to me, Is there someone you like? I turned back and looked at him. No, I said. Then why? Because the person I loved is gone. This statement is true. The person I like is the white-clad boy who smiled at me under the streetlight in my past life. It was his gentleness when he held my hand after I was disfigured and said, I will take care of you. It was the occasional smile he gave me, even if it was mixed with reluctance and pity. But that person in the KTV room of my past life said with his own mouth, I feel like vomiting when I see her face. That person no longer exists. Instead, there is a cold, selfish, and indifferent stranger. In this life, Lu Jinyu is not that person. He is a new person, one who has not made those mistakes. But I can no longer like him because every time I see him, I remember that KTV room from my past life, those words, and those 8 years. It wasn't his fault, but it wasn't mine either. I don't understand. His voice trembled. What do you mean? Gone. You don't need to understand. I turned towards the door. Focus on getting better. Things will get better. That line again. The phrase I've said to him most in my life is this lie. Chapter 16. During my senior year, I secured a direct PhD position and continued my studies at Tsinghua University. My research took off, and I published 3 top-tier conference papers, received the Google PhD Fellowship, and was selected for the Future Female Scientists program. My mentor said, Jiang Wenwen is the most outstanding student I've ever mentored. No contest. Meanwhile, Lu Jinyu's surgeries were all completed. He underwent 4 skin graft surgeries over the course of more than a year, with a total cost of nearly 300,000 of that, 100,000 was for my mom. No, it was a gift, because later when Lu Jean wanted to repay her, she refused. My mom said, "This child has had a tough time. Consider it a good deed for mom." I couldn't persuade my mom, so I just let her have her way. But I knew Lu Jean never forgot about that money. Every month, he would transfer a few hundred to my mom, calling it repayment. She wouldn't accept it, but he would force the transfer, then delete the chat record so she couldn't send it back. Over 4 years, he repaid over 20,000, although it's still far from 100,000. At least this gesture is sincere. After the surgery, Lu Jinyu's face had improved significantly. While it was impossible to return to its original state, it was at least no longer shocking to behold. His face bore extensive scarring, and his features were somewhat distorted. But, with a mask and a hat on, he looked much like an ordinary person. He found a regular job working as a voice actor for an internet company with a monthly salary of 5,000. It wasn't high, but it was enough for him to live on back in his hometown. He started posting snippets of his daily life on social media, his voice recording booth, the meals he cooked, and the potted plants on his windowsill. Occasionally, he would also share some inspirational quotes. Today, I looked in the mirror and realized I wasn't as ugly as I thought. Maybe it's not because my face has improved, but because my mindset has. I am grateful to everyone who helped me during my toughest times. I will repay you with the rest of my life. Some things are lost for good, but loss is also a form of growth. As I read these social media posts, I can't quite put my feelings into words. Not moved, nor disgusted. It's more like a sense of relief. He is no longer the high and mighty school hunk. He has become an ordinary person who understands gratitude, cherishes, and humility. But this understanding came at the cost of disfigurement. The understanding I gained in my past life was bought with 8 years of tears. We both paid a price. It's just that the price he paid was far lighter than the one I paid in my past life. In the second year of my doctorate, I received an invitation to return to my alma mater and give a speech. The principal of my alma mater called me personally. Jiang Wenwen. He said, "You are the pride of our school. Come back and share your story with the younger students. Give them some inspiration." I agreed. On the day of the speech, I wore a simple white shirt, tied my hair in a ponytail, and stepped onto the stage with no makeup. The auditorium was packed with students, their eyes shining as they looked up at me. They reminded me so much of my past self, full of hope for the future and trust in the world. I stood on the stage, looking at them, and suddenly felt a bit disoriented. If I hadn't stepped forward in my previous life, would my life have turned out like this? Standing on the podium at Tsinghua University, shining brightly, admired by everyone? No, even if I hadn't stepped forward in my previous life, I might not have reached where I am today, because in my previous life, I was too dependent on Lu Jinyu. I placed all my hopes on him, believing that marrying him was the ultimate goal of life. I had no career of my own, no aspirations, and even no independent thoughts. I am his subordinate, a disfigured, yellow-faced hag, a burden seeking repayment for a favor. This life of mine was forced into existence. It was forced by his words. I feel sick just looking at her face, by the 8 years of cold violence, and by those 2 hours in the KTV fire escape. So, should I thank him? No, the one I should thank is myself. Thank you to the self who, after crying for 2 hours in the fire escape, still didn't give up. Thank you to the self who, after every sleepless night following the marriage, still made it to the next day. Thank you to the self who, after wanting to smash the mirror while looking into it, still walked out the front door. I saved myself. It wasn't Lu Jinyu. It wasn't anyone. When the speech ended, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. The principal came on stage to take a photo with me, grinning from ear to ear as I was walking off the stage. I saw someone standing at the door. He stood in the shadows of the corridor, wearing a mask and a baseball cap, with a gray coat on. In his hands, he held a bouquet of flowers, not roses, but sunflowers. It was Lu Jinyu. What was he doing here? When? He walked over and handed me the flowers. Your speech was brilliant. I took the flowers and looked at him. How did you get here? I wanted to see you. His voice was a bit tense. I heard you're giving a speech at your alma mater. So, aren't you at work? Took a day off. He paused. I want to tell you something in person. What? I'm going to Shenzhen. I was taken aback for a moment. A company in Shenzhen has offered me a job doing audiobook narration. The salary is 12,000 a month. It's a lot better than my current job. That's great, I said. Congratulations. Yeah. He nodded, fell silent for a moment, and then said, When? I came to see you, not to pester you. I know you don't have feelings for me anymore, and I've accepted that. I just wanted to thank you in person. He took off his mask. It was the first time I saw his face fully. Scars covered most of his face, stretching from his forehead to his chin. The skin was uneven, with varying shades, resembling a crumpled and smoothed-out piece of paper. His left eye drooped slightly, and the corner of his mouth tilted to the right, making his features appear somewhat asymmetrical. But he didn't flinch or feel ashamed. He stood right there in front of me, letting me see every inch of his scars. This is me, he said, his voice calm. This is who I am now. I know you might find it revolting. It's okay. I'm used to it, but I still want to say, thank you. Thank your mother. Thank everyone who has helped me. If it weren't for you, I might not be in this world anymore, he said, his eyes welling up, but no tears fell. When? Don't worry. I won't bother you anymore. I'm going to Shenzhen, work hard, and live well. If I get the chance, I'll pay back all the money I owe Auntie. You take care, too. He put his mask back on and walked away. After a few steps, he turned back. Oh, clears throat, by the way. When? What is it? You once asked me, if it were you who got splashed with acid, would I rush up to shield you? I was stunned. I can answer you now. He smiled, and through the mask, I couldn't see his expression clearly, but I saw his eyes curve like two crescent moons. I would, he said. If I could do it all over again, I would. Then he left, disappearing at the end of the corridor. I stood still, holding a sunflower in my hands, silent for a long time. It will. He said it would. But in his previous life, he didn't. In my past life, I was the one who got acid thrown on me. He didn't rush to shield me, and he didn't even spend much time with me in the hospital. He went to the library with Su Hailon instead, talking about how beautiful Xiamen University's campus was. In this life, he said, I will. But in this life, he was the one who got acid thrown on him. He never had the chance to rush forward because he was the one being attacked. Fate played a cruel joke on him. It took his face, but gave him a heart full of gratitude. But all of this was far too late. Not every I'm sorry is met with it's okay. Not every I'll change is met with I forgive you. Not every what if I could do it over gets a second chance. I turned and walked out of the school gate, the warm sunlight on my face. I placed the sunflower on the passenger seat and started the car. My phone buzzed with a WeChat notification. It's from Su Hailon 11. I'm getting married to Lin Yuzhou. The wedding is set for October. You must come. Heart. I looked at the message and smiled. Su Hailon is getting married with Lin Yuzhou, the heartthrob of Xiamen University. She finally got what she wanted. But I knew Su Hailon's marriage wouldn't be a happy one. Not because I have the gift of foresight, but because I know her all too well. Su Hailon is someone forever chasing after something better. She liked Lu Jinyu because he was handsome. She pursued Lin Yuzhou because he was the school heartthrob. But the pursuit of better is a bottomless pit. After getting married, she would inevitably find other men who seemed better. she would grow dissatisfied, restless, and continue her chase. And Lin Yu Zhou is no saint either. In their past life, while stringing Su Hailan along, he was also entangled with other girls. Could two disloyal people ever truly find happiness together? But that's no longer my concern. I sent a reply to Su Hailan. Congratulations. I wish you both every happiness. Then, I put down my phone. Outside the window, the sunlight was warm. The sky was a clear blue, and the breeze was gentle. My life, at last, was entirely my own. Epilogue. After earning my PhD, I stayed on at the university as an assistant professor. At 28, I was one of the youngest female assistant professors at Tsinghua. I had my own lab, my own research team, and my own research direction. The students I supervised were all outstanding, and one of them even received the Microsoft Research Asia Fellowship. My life is fulfilling and peaceful. Occasionally, I think about my past life, but those memories have become hazy, like an old photograph soaked in water. The outline remains, but the details are blurred. I no longer hold a grudge against Lu Jinyu. Not doi resent suhelal. I don't hate anyone. Hatred is too exhausting. I don't want to waste any more energy on it. One day, I stayed late at the lab and, as I left the building, I noticed a girl standing at the entrance. She was probably in her early 20s, very beautiful, but had a large scar running from the corner of her right eye down to her chin. The scar, a scar left by sulfuric acid. I recognized it instantly because I had a scar just like it in my past life. Professor Jiang, she said upon seeing me, her voice tinged with nervousness. I'm sorry to disturb you so late. And you are. My name is Lin Shouting. I'm a student from the school, next door. I was hoping to talk with you. Looking at the scar on her face, a complex mix of emotions suddenly welled up inside me. Come in. I pushed the door open. I'll make you a cup of coffee. She followed me into the lab, sat on the sofa, holding the coffee cup with both hands, her fingers trembling slightly. Professor Jiang, she took a deep breath. I heard you almost got disfigured by acid, too. I was stunned for a moment. Did someone try to throw acid at you? Did you dodge it? I looked at her and suddenly smiled. Yes, I said. I dodged it. And you? Shouting. I cut her off. What did you want to ask? She was quiet for a moment, then looked up, her eyes glistening with tears. Teacher Jiang, my face. It was splashed by my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend. She said I stole her boyfriend, but I didn't. When I was with him, they had already broken up. I reported it to the police, and she was arrested. But my face, it's never going to be the same again. My boyfriend, he said he'd take care of me at first, but then he grew more and more impatient, more and more resentful of me. Last week, he told me he couldn't take it anymore, that he wanted to break up. Teacher Jiang, I'm so heartbroken. I feel like my life is over. Looking at her, it was like seeing a version of myself from a past life. The version of myself who cried for 2 hours in a KTV fire escape. The self who tossed and turned sleeplessly every night after marriage. The self who wanted to smash the mirror every time she looked into it. Shouting. I set down my coffee cup and looked at her earnestly. Your face may never return to what it was, but your life can. She paused for a moment. Let me tell you a story, I said. And so I began. It was about a girl who, on the day of the National College entrance exam, used her own face to shield a boy from sulfuric acid. And about that boy who later said in a KTV room, the sight of her face makes me sick. This is about the girl who married that boy and endured 8 years of emotional neglect. This is about the girl who cried for 2 hours in the fire escape, then dried her tears and carried on living. This is about the girl who, given a second chance, chose to take a step back. This is about the girl who got into Tsinghua University, topped the provincial exams, earned her doctorate, and became a professor. By the end of her story, Lin Xiaoding was in tears. Teacher Jiang, is this really true? What do you think? I said with a smile, that girl, was it you? I didn't answer, just stood up and walked to the window. Outside the window was the night scene of Tsinghua, brightly lit with twinkling lights. Shouting. I turned back. Disfigurement is not the end of the world. The real end of the world is when you feel you have nothing but your face. You are not having nothing. You have hands, feet, a brain, and dreams. You can study, work, earn money, and live a wonderful life. Don't tie your self-worth to a pretty face, and certainly not to a man. You deserve better. Lin, shouting, wiped her tears and nodded firmly. Thank you, Teacher Jiang. After she left, I sat alone in the lab, quiet for a long time. My phone buzzed with a WeChat message from Lu Jinyu 11. I'm doing well in Shenzhen. The company promoted me, and my salary has increased to 20,000 yuan a month. I've repaid 50,000 yuan to Andy, and I'll continue to pay off the remaining 50,000. By the way, I went for a counseling session today. The therapist said my mental state has improved a lot. I haven't had a nightmare in ages. How have you been lately? Make sure you're eating properly and don't overwork yourself. Good night. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the screen. Then, I typed out a line. Good night, Lu Jinyu, sent for the first time in 4 years. I had actively called him Lu Jinyu instead of just Jinyu. He must have noticed the change because his reply was just a long string of then. He sent a smiling emoji. Good night, Jiang Wanwan. I smiled. Jiang Wanwan. He called me by my full name. No longer Wanwan, the term that symbolized intimacy and dependence, but Jiang Wanwan, a name that stands alone, complete, and independent of anyone else. I turned off my phone and stepped out of the lab. The night breeze carried the scent of early summer blossoms. I looked up at the sky. The stars were brilliant. In this life, I've finally become the person I wanted to be. I am nobody's savior. I am nobody's burden. I am nobody's wife. I am just Jiang Wanwan, a common, ordinary, but free person. That's enough. The end. Story 2. Back in the 70s. I was chased into the river by a vicious dog at the village entrance. Xin Jingjing jumped in to save me when I was hanging by a thread. Soon, the village buzzed with gossip about us, and his fiancée called off their engagement. Left with no choice, Xin Jingjing reluctantly married me. After our marriage, he resented me for coming between him and Gu Chanru, treating me with constant coldness. Later, he even discovered an old love letter I'd written him years ago while going through my belongings. This only reinforced his belief that I had schemed deliberately. Even my accidental fall into water became part of my calculated ploy to trap him. To retaliate, he secretly used his spousal authority to transfer my rightful job opportunity to Gu Chanru without my knowledge. With Xin Jingjing paving her way, she rose from a community teacher to a full professor, basking in glory every step of the way. Meanwhile, I spent my entire life stuck in the most mundane grassroots position, living out an utterly mediocre existence. Over the years, I watched coldly as my husband doted on another woman, securing her jobs, funding her education, draping coats over her shoulders when she shivered, wiping her tears when she cried. When the heartache finally numbed me, the realization struck. I'd made a terrible mistake marrying Xin Jingjing. Countless times I've wondered, had I refused his marriage proposal, would my life have taken a different path? In the dead of night, I fell asleep once more with tears of regret staining my cheeks. When I opened my eyes again, I'd miraculously returned to that fateful day I nearly drowned. Zime, grab my hand. The girl's shrill voice pierced my ears. I snapped back to reality. The weightless sensation of falling down hospital stairs morphing into the sinking dread of drowning. Through the splashing water, I saw my childhood friend Goose shouting, desperately reaching out toward me. Yet, she remained several steps away from the shore. At that distance, there was no way I could reach her fingertips. I'll get help. Just hold on. She scrambled to her feet and dashed toward the distant fields where several villagers were working. That's when I realized I'd actually been reborn back in the 70s, before I'd even married Xan Jingjing. That day, while doing laundry with Gu shouting, a stray dog came out of nowhere, barking furiously at me and even attempting to lunge at me. Terrified, I stumbled backward in panic when suddenly an unseen force shoved me into the water amidst the chaos. Just like in our past life, Gu shouting began screaming for help toward the people working in the fields. But among that crowd, apart from the elderly folks, only Xian Jingjing knew how to swim. He rushed to the riverbank and, seeing me choking on water without hesitation, jumped in to save me. What began as an act of kindness unexpectedly bound us together in a lifetime of love and resentment. 1. After Xian Jingjing rescued me in my past life, I spent all my savings to buy him a wristwatch from the city as gratitude. Not long after, Gu shouting suddenly came running with news for me. Zime, it's terrible. The whole village is saying you and Xian Jingjing are having an improper affair. The news hit me like a thunderbolt. In these times, open relationships, still fully accepted, backward areas remain steeped in conservative, feudalistic attitudes. Being accused of moral misconduct is serious enough, let alone when Xin Jingqing already has a fiancé. Villagers passing by would point at me and shoot me strange looks. Some swore they'd seen me by the riverbank, locked in an indecent embrace with Xin Jingqing, our lips pressed together shamelessly. Others claimed I'd never fallen into the water accidentally, that we'd been caught in the act of daytime debauchery when I slipped into the river. The watch I'd gifted him became damning evidence of these supposed transgressions. The rumors snowballed until I was practically drowning in a sea of gossip. Back then, I was barely 20, young, naive, and wet behind the ears. Faced with such a situation, I fell apart completely, reduced to tearful helplessness. Xin Jingqing wasn't faring any better, either. Rumor has it that his fiancée, Gu Chaner, showed up with her parents to call off the engagement, causing quite a scandal. Xin Jingqing and Gu Chaner were classmates, deeply in love, on the verge of marriage, when this unexpected turn of events occurred. Despite risking harassment accusations, he desperately tried to salvage the relationship for months. But Gu Chaner's resolve to break the engagement remained unshakable. No matter how much we clarified, few would believe us. With rumors spreading like wildfire, we felt like being fried in a pan of boiling oil during that period. I'd get up every night to pack my belongings through tears. I thought, worst case, I'd just leave this place and start over somewhere secluded. But before long, Xin Jingqing unexpectedly arrived with betrothal gifts. The recent turmoil had drained his youthful vigor, and even his handsome features carried a faint weariness. The moment he saw me, he said, Ji Mei, since things have come to this, why don't I just marry you? He asked me, will you marry me? Was I really willing for decades? Afterward, I was haunted by regret for giving the wrong answer. Had I refused him then, perhaps my life wouldn't have been so full of hardship. I wouldn't have toiled in the fields for years, only to return to the city and watch helplessly as someone else took my job. It shouldn't be like this after marriage. My husband showering attention on another woman while leaving me alone in an empty bed. 2. I shouldn't have kept overestimating myself by comparing to Gu Chaner, only to retreat in shame every time. Among the three of us, we're the ones with the marriage certificate. Yet I feel more like the other woman. We fought. I cried. I made scenes. But what ultimately broke me was the sheer disgust in Shin Jingqing's eyes. He said, "You know exactly how our marriage came to be. The greatest regret of my life is what I did to Chonner. This is the debt we owe her." I broke down. What debt? Wasn't it her who insisted on breaking off the engagement? Wasn't it you, Shin Jingqing, who came knocking with betrothal gifts to marry me? Never once did I intend to come between you two. Yet he condemned me to eternal damnation over that love letter I never even sent, stripping me of any chance at redemption, leaving me to drown alone in this loveless marriage for all these years, watching his retreating figure turn away heartlessly again and again. I choked back sobs. Shin Jingqing, I truly wish I'd never met you in this lifetime. His departing footsteps suddenly froze, though I couldn't see his expression. Yet I heard him speak with near perfect indifference. If possible, I too wish I'd never pulled you from the river that day. Only at this moment did I truly believe Shin Jingqing wasn't just speaking in anger. As I struggled in the water, Gu, shouting, dragged Shin Jingqing toward me. "Brother Shin, hurry! Ji, Mei fell into the water. Go save her." In our past life, Shin Jingqing had stripped off his clothes and jumped in without hesitation, terrified that even a second's delay might endanger me. Yet at this moment, he hesitated, watching me flounder in the water. His gaze turned solemn. "Men and women shouldn't mingle like this. It's improper. Better find a female who can swim." Gu, shouting, was hopping mad with impatience. Good heavens, at a time like this, you're still worried about propriety? Saving lives comes first. Are you just going to stand there and watch her drown? She dragged Shin Jingqing toward the riverbank, her voice blaring like a megaphone. The commotion, naturally, drew more onlookers as the growing crowd approached. Shin Jingqing's expression darkened further. His brows were furrowed so tightly they could crush a fly. He shook off Gu Shouting's hand, visibly recoiling at her attempt to drag him toward the rescue. I said, "No means no. I'll find a woman who can swim to save her." With that, he dashed off, leaving Gu Shouting standing there dumbfounded. She was hopping around in panic. "Can anyone swim? Mei's drowning. Someone help her." Yet no one responded, having heard everything. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. It seems Shin Jingqing has also been reborn. So those words he said weren't just spoken in anger. He genuinely wished me dead to remove me as an obstacle to his marriage with Gu Chonner. A wave of desolation washed over me. Under Gu Shouting's astonished gaze, I slowly swam to shore, dripping wet. I climbed out from the riverbank and walked home calmly. Gu Shouting came running over, her eyes wide with shock. "Mei, you can swim. How come I never knew that?" The discomfort left me, too, drained to explain properly. I just mumbled a vague response before hurrying back. On my way home, I happened to run into Shin Jingqing, who'd turned back. He hurried along, accompanied by a robust-looking woman. The woman kept nagging at him. "A drowning man can't wait. It's been too long. He's probably gone." Meeting my mocking gaze, Shin Jingqing froze on the spot. He stared at me blankly. Drowning waits for no one. Had I still been that Mei from my past life who couldn't swim, those few minutes of his delay would have been enough to drown me. Without a word, I brushed past them. "Shin Jingqing, thank goodness you didn't save me this time, because just like you, I want absolutely nothing to do with you anymore. Thank heavens for giving me this chance to set things right." Back home, I quickly took a shower and changed out of my soaked clothes. The first thing I needed to do was find that love letter I'd written in the heat of the moment, back when we were all sent to the countryside together. Shin Jingqing immediately stood out from the crowd like a crane among chickens. With his handsome features and gentle demeanor, he never complained about hard work and always lent a helping hand to those in need. It was inevitable that I'd develop feelings for him. Back then, I didn't know he was engaged. When I found out, I was heartbroken for a while before burying those feelings deep down. Little did I know that this love letter, written in a moment of reckless passion, would later become evidence he used to condemn me. Shin Jingqing confronted me with that letter countless times. He was convinced I'd schemed to get close to him, deliberately falling into the river to tarnish our relationship. He called me shameless, accusing me of using my virtue as a woman to entrap him, no matter how I explained. He wouldn't listen. I wanted to say it was just an accident, that I was truly drowning. Who would joke about their own life? Yet all my explanations fell on deaf ears. Without hesitation, I tossed that love letter into the courtyard brazier. If all this is wrong, then it shouldn't exist in this world at all. What the hell are you doing? Shin Jingqing strode over, and his pupils dilated the moment he saw what I was burning. Ji Mei, have you lost your mind? How could you burn the love letters you wrote me? I stared at him with an expressionless face. Why not? If I recall correctly, this belongs to me. How I deal with it is my prerogative. He blurted out, but you gave this to me. Shin Jingqing's words trailed off abruptly. He took a deep breath to calm himself. Then he questioned me in that all too familiar accusatory tone. Ji Mei, you've been reborn, too, haven't you? That's why you're treating me like this. You were lying to me in our past life. You could swim all along. Yet you pretended for years, making me save you on purpose and ruining my engagement with Chonner. I never imagined he could speak to me with such shameless condescension when we're not even married. Shin Jingqing, what right do you have to interrogate me? In this lifetime, we're practically strangers. Besides, can't you go one day without falsely accusing me? Last time I nearly drowned. Spent a week on 4 drips at the city hospital. No sane person would gamble with their life like that. What? You think you're so irresistible that I'd risk death just to test whether you'd save a complete stranger? Meeting his wavering gaze, I said, the reason I learned to swim now is because during those decades married to you, I regretted every single day not knowing how. Had I been able to climb out myself that day, would I have given you the chance to torment me later? He probably never expected me to say something so heartless. This was something he'd never even considered, because in our past life, no matter how I tried to explain, he refused to believe me. He was convinced I'd fallen into the water deliberately to lure him into rescuing me, that I'd schemed to ruin his reputation just to force him into marriage. So he hated me, resented me, and throughout our marriage, he wounded me with needles that didn't kill, but made me bleed all the same. Only when I actually climbed out of the water by myself did he finally have to believe what I'd said. I truly would rather have never met him than have him save me one more time. The young man's face turned ashen. He could barely stand steady, yet still managed to say what you will, but in this lifetime, don't interfere with my relationship with Chonner again. We'll get married and correct our past mistakes. With that, he stared at my face as if waiting for something. He was probably waiting for me to lose my cool, hoping to see me angry and jealous. But I didn't give him the satisfaction. 3. I simply smiled and wished him well. Oh, really? Then I wish you a lifetime of happiness together. Late at night, by the dim light of a kerosene lamp, I studied the rustication approval letter spread across the desk. It's like a certificate of honor, urging us to answer the call and contribute to rural development. Through it, I glimpsed fragments of my past lives. I spent half my lifetime toiling away in mediocrity, busy, yet numb. Every day is packed, yet my heart remains hollow. As someone who's loved reading since childhood, I find no fulfillment in my current job. I once considered furthering my education. I wanted to take the postgraduate entrance exam to reach for greater heights. But whenever I picked up a book, Shin Jingjing would mock me, laughing at my overambition. He even thought I was just trying to compete with Gu Chanru. By then, she had already been admitted to a top-tier university in the country. Sometimes I can't even tell whether my desire to study stems from genuine interest or, as Shen Jingjing claims, just another competition. What also weighs me down are the endless household chores. Shen Jingjing's mother is particularly difficult, with my father-in-law perpetually hospitalized. She used to care for him personally, but after I married into the family, she finally found her scapegoat, constantly ordering me to tend to him at the hospital while she goes off playing mahjong. When I finally got time off and wanted to read at home, she'd wail about how unfilial I was, accusing me of using excuses to avoid caring for my father-in-law. Back then, I was trying to mend my marriage with Shen Jingjing. Afraid he'd misunderstand me, I resigned myself to hospital visits, changing bedpans, and cleaning up after my father-in-law. Eventually, my time got so squeezed, I could only study during breaks at work. It all came crashing down when I collapsed at the office from sheer exhaustion. I woke up in the hospital to find a crowd of relatives had arrived, not to check on me, but to lecture me on behalf of Shen Jingjing and my mother-in-law. They scolded me for being ungrateful, for obsessing over some graduate school exam instead of appreciating my comfortable life. Why stir up trouble? They said. You should be Shen Jingjing's supportive wife. They insisted, manage the household while he climbs the corporate ladder. Once he gets promoted, you'll have everything. Why bother with grad school? Back then, their constant nagging actually clouded my judgment. I foolishly gave up my education to willingly take care of his household. God knows what possessed me back then. Looking back now, I was utterly senseless. Some men won't appreciate women sacrificing their ambitions to become homemakers. Eventually, they'll even resent her for losing her spark. Most women remain trapped in domesticity, foolishly sacrificing their right to pursue better lives just to uphold the good woman image. That was exactly me in my past life. Shen Jingjing always accused me of envying Gu Chanru, and he was right. I did envy her, not because she received more of Shen's affection, but because she refused to be shackled by domestic duties. She spent her life chasing dreams until she finally claimed the very position she'd once admired. In the dead of night, memories of past regrets set my heart ablaze. Since fate has granted me this second chance, I won't let myself down again. The next day, I sought out the village chief. Hearing my request, the chief's face registered surprise. Xiao Ji, are you saying you want to transfer to another village for development work? Would that be possible? Village chief, I've already made an enemy of Shen Jingjing, knowing he'll achieve great things in the future. And now, with memories from his past life, he'll only rise to power faster this time. I need to put as much distance between us as possible. Otherwise, when he makes it big, he might hold a grudge and make my life miserable. The village chief scratched his head awkwardly. Well, I've never dealt with something like this before. I'll need to request instructions from higher-ups. Why don't you go home and wait for our response? I'll notify you immediately once we have a decision. I nodded with faint disappointment. Deep down, I'd already anticipated the outcome. After all, young people were always assigned to villages according to organizational arrangements. Cases like mine, wanting to switch locations, were probably rare. I kept working in the fields under the scorching sun. When I ran into Shen Jingjing, I treated him like thin air. I walked straight past him without a glance. Several times, I noticed him opening his mouth to speak, but he swallowed his words when met with my icy stare. Gu Shaoqin came over to me, her neck glistening with sweat, clicking her tongue at something in the distance. Shimei, Gu Chanru is so lucky. Why don't I have a fiancé like Shen Jingjing? Following her gaze, I saw many girls in the field staring at Gu Chanru with envious eyes. It turned out that while Gu Chanru was working, Shen Jingjing had come to visit her, bringing chilled mung bean soup. His heart ached for her, So he took all her tasks upon himself and had her rest on a nearby rock during the break. Shen Jingjing took out a handkerchief to wipe Gu Chanru's sweat, a perfect match that made onlookers green with envy. Call it intuition. But even while doting on Gu Chanru, his gaze kept drifting subtly in my direction. I scoffed. What they saw as enviable, I found utterly repulsive. After all, it was me who taught him how to make that mung bean soup in our past life. In the following days, I actively kept my distance from Shen Jingjing, determined to cut ties. He probably thought I was playing hard to get, but only I knew the truth. I genuinely wanted to avoid repeating past mistakes, though I'd loved Shen Jingjing with all my heart in our previous life. That sincere affection had been utterly crushed by our loveless marriage. What took me by surprise was trouble came looking for me when I wasn't even seeking it. That morning, I was still lost in dreams. Half asleep, I heard the door being pounded like thunder. A man's voice seethed with rage. Ji Mei, get out here this instant. I hastily threw on my coat and opened the door to find Shen Jingjing's face contorted with fury. His eyes were dark with malice, glaring at me as if he wanted to tear me apart with his teeth. He roughly grabbed my wrist and stormed toward the broadcasting station. He yanked me so hard it hurt, and I snarled through gritted teeth. Shen Jingjing, have you lost your damn mind? Let go of me. Let go right now. He turned a deaf ear, gripping my wrist even tighter as if afraid I'd break free. The pain was so intense, I thought my bones might snap. Tears unbidden down my cheeks as waves of humiliation crashed over me. It wasn't until he brought me to the broadcasting station that I understood Shen Jingjing's intentions. A dense crowd had gathered over there, for the village chief, local residents, and Gu Chanru were all present. Her delicate figure swayed like a willow in the crowd, her quiet sobs making her appear even more pitiful. Shen Jingjing rushed forward and grasped Gu Chanru's hand. Chanru, I brought Ji Mei here. Hear her explanation yourself. I swear I didn't jump into the river to save her that day. Gu Chanru turned away, her shoulders still trembling with silent sobs. The village chief watched her tear-streaked face with helpless sympathy. Clearing his throat, he said, Comrade Gu, speak your grievances. We'll see justice done. Only then did she speak. Village chief, I have just one demand. I want to break off my engagement with Shen Jingjing. The man's eyes turned red as he shouted hoarsely, Why, Chanru, are you rejecting me again in this lifetime? He gripped Gu Chanru's shoulders, demanding an answer. Gu Shiru said with grievance, When Ji Mei fell into the water that day, Gu Shaoqin claimed she saw you jump in to rescue her. You even gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You held each other close, skin against skin. How could you treat your own fiancé like this? I can't bear this humiliation. I'm calling off our engagement. My gaze shifted to Gu Shaoqin in the crowd. She averted her eyes, not daring to meet my stare. Shen Jingjing explained, I didn't rescue her. She swam up on her own. As for mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, that's absolute nonsense. The girl broke free from his embrace, but so many people saw it with their own eyes. Yet, when questioning those villagers about who actually witnessed it, they all denied seeing anything firsthand, claiming they'd only heard it through the grapevine. Gu Shaoqin was the only one who witnessed the entire incident that day. Yet, she's been spreading malicious rumors everywhere. Before I could confront her, Shen Jingjing dragged me forward. Again, Ji Mei, tell me, how did you get out of the water that day? Don't you dare lie to me, or you'll regret it. Watching him seethe with rage just to cut ties with me, I felt more certain than ever. I didn't love him anymore. In fact, it made me sick. I replied calmly, I can swim. Why would I need his help? You're lying. Shaoqin said you can't swim at all. You've never dared to go near the river. Comrade Ji, If you're bold enough to steal someone's fiancé, at least own up to it. Gushiru glared at me, her pitiful expression winning her even more sympathy from the crowd. I immediately felt the scornful gazes. These people were once again labeling me as a homewrecker who'd seduced someone's fiancé. Spotting the river nearby, an idea struck me. I turned to the crowd and said, "Follow me." Without hesitation, I jumped into the water right before everyone's eyes. 1 minute, 2 minutes passed until the ripples on the water's surface stilled. Someone gasped in horror. "Oh God, has she drowned?" On the shore, Shin Jingjing clenched his fists, his breathing momentarily ragged. After what felt like an eternity, I finally broke the surface and swam ashore with practiced ease. My clothes were soaked through again, with my hair plastered to my face. I was a complete mess. I said coldly, "Convinced now? I can swim just fine without needing his rescue." I'd never stoop so low as to gamble with my life just to seduce a man. You rumor-mongering fools are utterly ridiculous. No more doubts were voiced, and many flushed with shame over their earlier suspicions. The village chief barked out a couple of shouts. "Just a misunderstanding. Everyone disperse and get back to work." Under cover of darkness, Gu Shaoqin sneaked out of her house, unnoticed by her. I quietly trailed behind. When we reached a secluded spot, I heard her murmur in a plaintive voice, "Sis, I swear I'm not lying. May couldn't swim before. Who knew she'd managed to climb out that day?" And the person who met her in the darkness turned out to be Gu Chanru. Gu Shaoqin's a local. When I first arrived, she mentioned her uncle from out of town had a daughter, a beautiful college student in the city. The whole family's pride. So, they're cousins. What perfect camouflage. Her pretty face flushed with rage as she berated Gu Shaoqin mercilessly. "You idiot. What kind of half-baked scheme was this? Now, I can't break off the engagement with Shen Jingjing while Wen was waiting to marry me. What am I supposed to do now?" Xia Wenhua. In her past life, Gu Chanru had married him. Back then, Xia Wenhua was the leader of the educated youth group, sent here from his wealthy family for tempering. In the previous lifetime, Gu Chanru and Xia Wenhua had clearly no connection whatsoever. Yet they rushed into marriage just 2 months after her engagement with Shan Jingchen was called off. Now, it's clear this was premeditated all along. Even that vicious dog incident in her past life was orchestrated by Gu Chanru's faction. Gu Xiachen's role was to lure Shin Jingchen into rescuing her, then spread rumors afterward. Had everything gone according to plan, she would have used this as pretext to dissolve her engagement and marry into the prestigious Xia family. I gritted my teeth in secret, itching to stride over and slap her across the face twice. Back then, Shin Jingchen was just a poor young man sent to the countryside with bleak prospects. Years later, he rose to become a department head with a flourishing political career, while the Xia family's fortunes declined after being reported. Not long after Shen Jingchen's rise, Gu Chanru divorced Xia Wenhua. Soon after, she began hanging around the Shen household constantly under the pretense of reminiscing. She tearfully complained about Xia Wenhua's mistreatment, how her in-laws tormented her with constant disapproval. After enduring humiliation in the Xia household, she finally seized the chance to leave by promising a no-alimony divorce when they went bankrupt. She said Shin Jingchen was the only acquaintance she had left in this city. Later, playing the damsel in distress, she manipulated Shin into securing her university position, funding her education, and leveraging his connections to pave her way. Gu Chanru had Shin Jingchen wrapped around her finger, completely oblivious that she'd once discarded him like yesterday's trash. My hands clenched and unclenched in the darkness, my expression shifting from fury to a sardonic smile. I won't tell Shin Jingchen. Let him remain in the dark and relive the feeling of being toyed with by his beloved. when he finally discovers the truth. It'll be quite a spectacle. I know Gu-chan Ru won't be able to wait much longer because, in my past life, around this exact time, Xia Wenhua was soon transferred, rising from deputy team leader of the production brigade all the way to workshop deputy director. The future looked so bright that Gu-chan Ru couldn't wait to marry him, eager to start their picture-perfect life together. But what truly shocked me was how I'd still underestimated Gu-chan Ru's shamelessness. Who could have imagined that when she failed to tarnish another's virtue, she'd stoop so low as to ruin her own? At dawn's first rooster crow, Gu Xia-chin came banging on my door in a frenzy, grabbing my arm and saying, "Something terrible's happened. Come quick." Without knowing why, I ran after her and asked, "What's going on?" Team leader Xia was drinking with some department heads last night. On his way back, he took a wrong turn and accidentally entered the wrong room. This morning, people found him sleeping in the same room as Gu before I could fully process this information. I arrived at Gu Place to find a huge crowd gathered, even bigger than the one at the broadcasting station that day. He froze, Xia frantically explaining to the crowd. It was the alcohol's fault. My room and Comrade Gu's are just too close together. It was dark. I couldn't see clearly, and she forgot to lock her door. That's how I ended up in the wrong room by mistake. I swear on my honor, nothing happened between us. I just slept on the floor last night. Look at all this dust on my back. Does this look like it came from a bed? Gu was sobbing uncontrollably when she suddenly lunged at the wall, screaming, "I don't want to live anymore." A sharp-eyed villager stopped her just an inch from the wall. "Comrade Gu, what are you doing? Don't do anything rash. Life is precious." Gu Shiru sobbed, "I've wronged Jingqin. How can I face anyone now? How could I possibly be his wife? Let me go. I want to die." The village chief slapped his thigh in exasperation, pleading, "It's not that serious. Shin, say something." The young man's tall frame swayed slightly in the crowd, his face pale as he murmured, "Shiru, I don't blame you. This wasn't your fault. I'll still marry you." But Gu Shiru refused to relent. She would never accept this outcome. "I don't care what you say. With so many witnesses, my reputation is ruined. I won't force you into this marriage, rather than have you endure public scorn as my husband. I'd rather die." With that, she lunged at the wall again. After several attempts, blood finally trickled from her forehead. An elderly villager stepped forward to mediate. After this scandal, even if accidental, Miss Gu can't possibly marry Shin Jingqin with such tarnished honor. Truth be told, this engagement was never meant to be. Why not dissolve it? If Xia is willing to take responsibility for Miss Gu, that might turn misfortune into blessing. Xia eagerly responded, "I will. I swear to take full responsibility for Comrade Gu. To make amends, I'll treat her right." Gu Shiru was still sniveling, but had stopped her suicidal dramatics. All eyes turned to Shin Jingqin, waiting for his nod of approval. Shin Jingqin glanced at Gu Shiru warily, as if any denial from him would send her crashing into walls again. She kept claiming she refused to marry him to avoid public scorn. But was that truly the case? When he remained silent, Gu let out another wail and threw herself at the wall with all her might, sending everyone scrambling to restrain her. "Comrade Shen, just agree. Do you really want to watch Comrade Gu die right here?" "Exactly. She's staking her life to prove her sincerity. Clearly, this isn't some sort of affair. Let her go. If she actually married you afterward, think how people would judge her. She'd be better off with Team Leader Xia when we turn the place upside down." But still couldn't find that love letter Gu Xia Chin claimed existed. Seeing me actually packing up to drag her to the town police station, the village chief and several villagers quickly stopped me, forcing Gu Xia Chen to bow her head and apologize. Left with no choice, Gu Xiaqin blushed and muttered over a dozen sorries to me. I stopped what I was doing and added, "Since everyone's here today, regarding that incident where I was slandered about having improper relations with Comrade Shin after nearly drowning, I feel compelled to set the record straight." With righteous indignation, I declared, "I, Gigi Mei, have absolutely no feelings whatsoever for Shin Jingqin, nor have I ever considered marrying him. If anyone dares spread rumors about us again, I'll go straight to the police. I'd rather die than have my reputation tarnished. Mark my words, I'd sooner become a nun and remain unmarried my whole life than wed that man, or may lightning strike me dead where I stand." Amid the crowd, Shin Jingqin turned deathly pale, staring at me in utter disbelief. He murmured, How could you say such things?" I couldn't be bothered to watch his pathetic dramatics. After shooing everyone out, I slammed the door shut with a bang. Peace finally returned to the world, perhaps from the shock. Shen Jingqin fell seriously ill for several days and disappeared from the village for quite some time. Then the village chief came looking for me again. "There's progress on that matter you mentioned. The higher-ups say your request is unusual, but not impossible to arrange. The catch is, if you want to leave here, you'd have to go to the northwest region. The sandstorms there are brutal, and conditions are much harsher than here. I'm not sure a young woman like you could handle it." I nodded eagerly. "Village chief, I'm willing to go as long as I can get away from this place. Any hardship is acceptable. In a few years, the college entrance exams will be reinstated, and all these educated youths will gradually return to the cities. Compared to that tangible hope, what do a little hardship and exhaustion matter? All right, pack your things. Once the notice comes through, I'll arrange transportation for you." On the eve of my departure, I summoned Gu Xiaqin. "It's time to settle some old scores." Gu Xiaqin shrank back when she saw me. What did you call me here for? I already apologized last time. What more do you want?" He smiled ahead. "Xiaqin, don't say that. I'm not that petty. I just noticed we've grown distant lately and wanted to make up with you. I went all the way to town to buy you these earrings as an apology. Come get them." I dangled the earrings in my hand, and Gu Xiaqin's eyes immediately lit up. The moment she got close, I kicked her straight into the river. So, that mysterious force that pushed me into the river when I was being chased by dogs, it was her doing all along. "Ji Mei, you're insane. I'm telling the village chief." I looked down imperiously as she flailed in the water. "Go ahead. I never officially reported you to the town authorities last time. Anyway, perfect chance to settle old scores. Nobody saw me push you, but the whole village witnessed you framing me. Gu Xiaochen, remember, what's done in the dark will come to light. I know every dirty secret between you and your cousin. Lay one more finger on me, and I'll expose everything. Ruin her marriage to Xiao Wenhua. I'll take you both down with me. Did you really think Gigi Mei would take this lying down? Keep pushing me, and you'll regret it." Gu Xiaochen trembled in the water, only beginning to feel real fear when she met my ice-cold gaze. She suddenly realized the water wasn't deep. It only reached her chest when standing. Though no longer in mortal danger, her heart still pounded with lingering terror. "I was wrong. Shimei, please let me go. I swear I won't tell anyone you pushed me today. Don't you dare interfere with my cousin marrying team leader Xia, or my father will beat me to death back home." I continued packing my belongings. "There's nothing I can do to Gu Chanru right now. She's under Xia Wenghua's protection. If I confront her directly, I'll only end up worse off. But once she marries into the Xia family, it won't be long before they start their shady business ventures. That's when I'll anonymously report them, shattering her wealthy socialite fantasy and sending her crashing down from the clouds into utter misery." The village chief said a car would be waiting for me in town at 3 p.m. So, I needed to catch the ox cart at the village entrance. By noon, I'd already packed my things and was ready to leave. To my surprise, when I opened the door, Shin Jingqing was standing right outside. A serious illness had left him noticeably thinner, his face drawn with exhaustion. His pupils contracted at the sight of my luggage. "Where are you going?" A bad premonition struck me. Telling the truth might make leaving difficult. After all, he never got to marry Gu Chanru in this lifetime. He'd likely take it out on me again, hardly willing to let me go. So, I lied. An elder at home is gravely ill. I need to visit for about a month before returning. Shin Jingqing let out a sigh of relief. It suddenly dawned on him that he couldn't bear Ji Mei's departure. Thankfully, she was just visiting family. After a long silence, Shin Jingqing suddenly lowered his head and muttered, "I owe you an apology. I misunderstood you before. You never actually intended to sabotage my engagement with Gu Chanru. I hurled insults at you that day, even dragged you violently to the broadcasting station for explanations. You must despise me." "Now, Shimei," I cut him off impatiently. "6. What's your damn point?" "Shin Jingqing, you think I want your pathetic apology? All I want is to stay the hell away from you this lifetime. Don't bother me, and I won't bother you. Let's just go our separate ways." Shin Jingqing looked utterly devastated, his body swaying unsteadily. "How could you be so heartless after all we've been through as husband and wife? Do you really feel nothing for me?" He gazed at me with desperate hope in his eyes. I couldn't help but find his expression laughable. He seemed to have forgotten how he'd treated me before. I'd be happy to remind him. "Affection? Did you ever show me even an ounce of it? Shin Jingqing, have you forgotten how you humiliated me? You married me for your reputation, then treated me like dirt. You kept me as a decorative piece in your home. A decade of icy indifference. Did it ever occur to you that I'm human, too? That my heart could break?" I nodded. "Remember how you cut me down with your cruel words, accusing me of scheming to marry you, calling me shameless, comparing me to Gu Chanru, saying I wasn't fit to lick her boots? You ground me into the dirt. Where was this affection you speak of then? To spite me, you gave my rightful position to Gu Chanru, forcing me into menial labor. You were my husband, yet you bent over backwards for others. Why didn't you preach about affection back then?" The words came out between sobs, tears falling before I even realized it. Decades of grievances, even rebirth, couldn't erase them from my heart. But how could mere words ever capture this depth of pain? When Gu Chanru came to you after her divorce, I drafted separation papers 3 times. Each time you refused, claiming your promotion was at stake. You never loved me, yet you trapped me, even if I wrongfully separated you and Chanru in the past. When I tried to set you free, you wouldn't let me go. Shin Jingqing, do you have any idea how much I despise you?" As I opened my mouth, I seemed to see again that woman from my past life, utterly broken by the icy indifference of marriage. For decades, I poured my whole heart into warming yours, yet you remained cold. Now I'm exhausted. I just want to take care of myself. You once said saving me from the river was your greatest regret. Well, the feeling's mutual. I regret ever loving you, entertaining foolish fantasies, and saying yes to your proposal in a moment of madness. A lifetime of devotion wasted. Thank God we've been reborn. Let's stop this torment, release each other, and live our separate lives in peace. With your qualities, you'll surely find someone better. I'll stay far away. You marry yours. I'll marry mine. Never to cross paths again. I thought stepping back would let me coexist peacefully with Shen Jingqing, but it's like he's been cursed or something. The young man shook his head, eyes red-rimmed, gazing at me with remorse as he bared his heart. "Shimei, believe it or not, after reliving this life, I see my own heart more clearly now. My feelings for Gu Chanru were just unresolved regrets from our past lives. When she called off our engagement, I merely felt unsettled. But hearing you sever ties with me, saying you'd rather become a nun than marry me, it felt like being stabbed through the heart. I know I've wronged you deeply in the past, but it doesn't matter now that we're reborn. This is our second chance, a gift from fate. I'll spend this lifetime making it up to you tenfold. If you still resent me now, let me court you properly this time. Please. Hearing these words made me sick to my stomach, but I couldn't show it. I turned away and pretended to consider. How do I know you're telling the truth? I need to think about it more. Shin Jingqing took this as a sign that there was still hope between us, his eyes lighting up with renewed optimism. His face immediately brightened with joy. Of course. Feel free to test my sincerity. My heart belongs only to you. Shimei, let me walk you to the village entrance to catch a ride. Do come back early, or I'll miss you terribly. He carried my luggage and personally saw me onto the ox cart at the village entrance. As the cart jolted into motion, the young man stood waving at me. A smile played on his lips, as if anticipating my return before long. I gave him one last smile. Shin Jingqing, farewell forever in this lifetime. Ji Mei had deceived him. She never returned. After an anxious wait, Shin Jingqing learned of her whereabouts from the village chief. He stood there dumbstruck, as if someone had punched him in the gut, completely frozen in shock. Ji Mei, how could you be so cruel? We promised to start over. How could you just walk away and abandon him like this? He knew he'd hurt her countless times, but why wouldn't she give him even one chance to make things right? Shin Jingqing refused to give up. He resolved to prove himself after returning to the city, then beg for Ji Mei's forgiveness once more. But fate had other plans. Shortly after Xiao Winghua and Gu Chanru got married, an anonymous tip brought them down, plunging the entire family into ruin. Every dirty deed they'd committed was exposed in broad daylight. Only then did Shen Jingqing realize how many underhanded schemes Gu Chanru had orchestrated behind his back to discard him and climb the social ladder. How pitiful that in his past life, he'd foolishly clung to nostalgia, betraying his own wife to shield that woman his entire lifetime. He's the biggest joke of all time. Later, Xiao Winghua somehow learned that the report against his family was Shen Jingqing's revenge for stealing his wife. Having nothing left to lose, he gathered a group and crippled Shin Jingqing in retaliation. The permanent disability ensured he'd never achieve his past life accomplishments. Years later, a destitute Shin Jingqing saw Ji Mei being honored in the news. After moving northwest for development work, she persisted in her studies, from college to PhD, and transformed the barren land into an oasis with her team, painting the desert with new life. Her remarkable contributions earned national recognition. She truly reinvented herself, while he spiraled into irreversible ruin. 7. His gaze swept across the cramped rental apartment. This broken body would now drag itself toward death in some forgotten corner, ensuring their eternal separation. Perhaps this was divine retribution for his sins. His rebirth wasn't meant to right past wrongs, but to witness how the wife he'd wronged in their previous life would break free from despair and start anew, to finally live the life that should have been hers all along.